To start? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board. This is our regular meeting. It is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, February 25th. We have a couple of absences tonight, but we'll move right along. We do have a quorum. Joe DiNardo, Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty. Please all rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We have minutes for the select board meeting of February 11th in your packet. Four. Motion's made to approve. Joe moves seconds. Discussion, additions, corrections, deletions. Bill, this is the one where I asked Bill to keep a detailed record of all of the items for the public safety building, and he did. So thank you very much. That's going to be a good checklist. If there's nothing else, all in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll vote aye too, and we can go ahead and sign. Okay, are there any board member announcements? Nope. Okay, update from the select board chair. Don't have any. We just had a fire committee, and Chris will report on that when his time is up, and he's got homework for us. So nothing else. Any questions from the floor or public comments? Thank you. The usuals are in the room, and I don't see anybody there interested in saying anything. Here comes Kurt. Anybody on the Zoom call who wishes to be heard about anything not otherwise on the agenda? If not, okay, let's move right along. First up, Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Yeah.
Hey, Kurt.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Good. First, Bill, thanks for the picture on the program there.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, first time Rick's been represented. I like it.
really?
Was that townwide celebration?
What is townwide celebration? Yes.
I was trying to think. I didn't think I had everything still up, but I saw the tarp in the background for the pool cover. So no,
But
nice
you
photo.
don't have the cooks. What the heck?
Ooh, I would be mad too.
That would be a that's
Right
very
now, he could have
specific-
panned over.
It's a very specific angle for that. So.
Actually, it's
Yes.
it's a great picture.
It is a good
so
picture.
I can't
So,
complain.
so thank you for that.
Yes.
Basketball has essentially wrapped up. We're in our Glodzic tournament mode for our 5th and 6th grade boys and girls. That is next weekend. So if you want to go check out some action over at West Rutland, it's a
Oh.
wonderful tournament that they put on over there. There is an admission to get into the tournament, but I will send Bill the information as far as what time our kids are playing next week. You do have it. Okay, perfect. Well, if you'd post it, that would be great.
Thank you.
Also this weekend, our 3 and 4 boys are in the Rutland City Jamboree tournament on Saturday and Sunday. So they've been quite, and then we are done with basketball. We are starting baseball signups anytime. We have our baseball directors meeting tomorrow night. So we're really starting to move forward with spring time. Hopefully this rain will stay for the next 10 days and get rid of all the rain, all the snow.
Jinxing it further. You did enough damage before the meeting.
I didn't do a lot of damage. He needed the time to catch his breath. They did a really good job. Other than that, I just have a couple questions I'm sure probably answered. We're meeting next week, I'm assuming, or pre-town meeting.
Yes, we will be on
What?
Monday's
Third.
pre-town meeting. It's,
time?
do we warn it for 7?
It is 1 for 7.
And the select board goes first.
First, yeah.
Remember, the school did ask to go first and we politely declined. It's pointing out that we alternate. So
Yes.
we're just, they're going to have their chance next
So
year.
we are meeting next Monday at the school at 7.
Yes.
And where are we doing it?
Same place, library.
Library?
Doors
Okay,
will be open at 6.
okay.
The library, because of the technology aspect of it.
Oh, all right.
It's,
a horrible setup, but yeah,
We can work on it.
it works better, well, yeah, we
Yeah.
have to put it up, we have to get it online and recorded, so
okay,
it's.
It'll work.
okay.
That's-
So
It's only
yes,
awkward for me. I mean, you can, the hybrid situation otherwise works well because you can hear and see the people. that are
Yeah,
on
I'm
Zoom.
gonna talk to Kelly about rearranging the room a little bit, so it's not the same configuration it was.
Put me on the side.
Yeah.
There you go.
okay,
Bill, they do have a rolling TV that they can bring in if you wanted a different one. They have two of them that are on, and they're the same size that's on the wall.
Okay.
So that helps Matt.
Okay.
They do have that capability, and I'm sure they could hook two up at the same
Kelly,
time.
Kelly emailed a group of us earlier about it and the logistics he talked about are gonna work out good. But we'll work on the exact arrangement. I'll talk with him and we'll get that a little more conducive, because where the camera is that it's not good to stand there. So yeah, it was our first time, but we'll learn from it.
we don't have a select board meeting.
Yeah, that's
right now.
unique.
Hmm?
It's kind of unique.
Yeah, I know, but
That's
we'll
all right.
manage.
So we're just having the pre-town
Right,
meeting. We're
yeah.
not meeting beforehand.
Right.
And we're going on at 7.
7.
Perfect. The only other thing is that I'll probably start sending out some stuff for some seniors for a late March. I was thinking a potluck, but I wanted to run that by Sharon too.
Mhm.
But Sharon's not here. And if you think that might not be a bad way to kick off, maybe a spaghetti dinner
Okay,
with a potluck at the fire station. The old one, not
Old
the new
one,
one. We can
okay.
say that now. The old one.
Old
The
not
old
the
one, yeah.
new one.
yeah,
Is that what I'm thinking to March, and then
Okay.
we'll go from there. I got some
Sounds
stuff.
good.
Other than that, I don't have much more than that. Just an issue I have to bring up with Ed. And I think we're good.
okay. Any questions for our town rec director, Mike Rowe? All right,
Awesome.
thank you very much. All right, Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. So who's ready for some good news?
Oh, please.
Okay, you talk to somebody else then, because I'm not ready.
It's
Since-
really, really naughty.
Since our last meeting, we've played in the snow many times.
Yeah,
Contractors are now at presently at 43 calls. In the last pay period, they had 9. Yeah, and it was,
Good winner.
Yeah.
it was
we did.
It was a good 2 weeks. Salt. 71,900 over right now. What was that?
Yes. Or sign of exasperation.
So like I said, I mean, we can talk about this in committee at some point, but I've got right about that amount back from the state, from the class 2 paving stuff last year, so I can
Okay,
sacrifice it, I guess. I got some other expenses along the way that, you know, it's gonna have to be what it is. So, with that being said, I've I've changed the paving a little bit. Cause I was planning on doing that top end of East Pittsford Road with that money.
Mhm.
So, some stuff has come up that Bill talked to me about the other day with water on Killington Avenue. I was gonna try to do Killington Avenue, the class 2 stuff, but I'm gonna pull that and I'm gonna throw the East Pittsford Road in for the class 2, which is, should be able to submit that tomorrow to the state. So that's kind of where that's headed. Back to winter and that craziness. Right now we have about probably 160, 170 tons of material in the building that we sprayed ourselves. White salt, we paid $15 a ton less for and then sprayed it ourselves. So we're okay for right now. See what happens. Over the last few storms, the Western Star started acting up. It would, it was odd. We'd leave first thing in the morning. It would overheat. It would shut down, start it back up, and everything would be fine. The clutch fan just didn't seem to want to kick on. So I believe it's, I thought it was a sensor. I called Westminster. They wanted to see it. We took it down. They said the water pump and the thermostat was gone. And there's a brake issue. So that's down there right now. Hopefully we get that back by the end of the week, but no promises there. And the F-550 went to Colchester today because the hydraulic pump is not pumping as it should. So that's, we took it up today. They're supposed to look at it tomorrow, but they said they probably could get it in today. I haven't heard anything, but I think they probably got it in this afternoon, and at least got started on it. And then like I said, the class 2 paving and the structures grant will be submitted tomorrow, should be submitted tomorrow. I just tied up some last minute loose ends today in the afternoon, so I should be able to get that stuff in. That structures grant is the culvert on Stratton Road down in the dip. So that's where I am.
Questions? Comments?
So-
Shouts of encouragement?
We had the discussion about the mailbox issue. And so our policy says that, if you have damage to a mailbox that's caused by snow, that we won't fix those. We fix mailboxes that are hit by the plow.
Right.
But regardless of what happens, the situation is supposed to be looked at by the highway commissioner. And if that's not the case, there's a procedure for how we're going about this. So if a resident goes out and fixes a mailbox before they contact Dave and then ask for reimbursement, I don't know how we could do that. Because he needs to go ascertain that it was in fact damage from the plow, and then we're at fault. I mean, that's pretty much how this is explained. So I don't know how, and the reimbursement portion is up to $40 for if we do reimburse. That's what the policy says. So I don't know how we want to handle this, because I believe the resident fixed the mailbox and then contacted Dave afterwards. And we had the similar situation last year where the same thing was done, and we could be paying for mailboxes that we didn't damage.
Yes, I understand.
So I understand there's a thing, the letter does highlight what that the town, in the event a homeowner elects to fix it, that we'll do it. But the beginning of the policy says that the road commissioner has to go out and see it.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm not really in favor of,
Okay, so you
pursuing
recommend
that
from
we-
the highway committee is not to
Yeah, we
pursue,
haven't,
not to. pay it?
other than just reading that, but that's kind of what it says, based on this and based on Dave's, involvement with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, we're pretty liberal with that policy. I mean, if somebody calls us up and says you hit our mailbox, or it's something we can go out and fix with a couple screws, we'll go out and just, glue it back together, really.
But this was more extensive.
I don't really, I mean, I saw pictures. If you call me or send me an email and say it was damaged, we'll go out and take a look at it. And if it's something that we can put back together pretty quickly, or if we got to put up a temporary, we've done that before. We put a post in a 5-gallon bucket full of sand and put it out there until the spring and deal with it. I mean, we're pretty easy to get along with on this stuff, but to, just send us a bill for $40, I think is,
So,
and
Could-
$40, like every bill that I get is for $40, not for 28,
yeah.
not for 31.25, it's for 40.
So Bill should, if you would, please draft a letter responding to the email, say that the highway committee looked into it, citing the sections of our policy that require the road commissioner to be notified so he can assess the damage and do our own fix if it's possible to do so. And that wasn't followed. So I guess I should ask, what's your pleasure? Is there a motion
I make that motion.
to deny? the
Second.
letter? Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion or questions?
The reimbursement part of that policy was normally for somebody that wanted to go above and beyond what the town was gonna supply for a mailbox. So we would reimburse them for $40 and then they could go buy
Gotcha.
whatever,
$100 mailbox.
yeah, whatever $500, $1,000 mailbox or whatever masterpiece they wanted. That's normally what that clause is used for.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of sending the letter denying the claim, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, folks. Anything else?
All I got.
Next time, some good news, maybe?
Sure will try.
Okay, thank you.
No guarantees.
All right.
Thanks,
You
Dave.
guys.
Thank you, Dave. All right, let's see if we can get through a few things. Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief.
Got a pretty short list tonight.
Okay.
Just to let you know, we're gonna need, 2 laptops right off. I mean, one stopped working, one's on the way out, so. I think one's over 10, the other one's over 8, so,
How's your equipment line?
I think it's gonna be in the reimbursement thing, but it's not reimbursement, but, we appreciate because it's replacing one that's gone, so. That's coming up in the future. Also, I found out that, tech guy was up there and he ran, Deputy Chief Washburn's computer. It won't upgrade to Windows 11, which
Hmm,
has to happen, I think, by October or November.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll need another one of those too, so just.
All right.
that comes up.
So we have the usual, we do have a purchase policy, so take a look at it. If, it's 5,000 or more, you got to get 3 bids. And laptops, I don't think we have preferred vendors
Won't
on.
be that much individually.
I think we did the CF
them all
55 last
once.
time. It was, we didn't go with the most expensive one. It was like, I want to say it was like around $3,000 with a warranty. If anything happened to it, they'd fix it for nothing for 3 years. So that's a third of the price of the CF, the other ones that we use. It's a tough book, but not quite as tough as the tough book.
Does something on the state bid have something for that?
Oh, I like that.
Wonder.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
The state, I mean,
These
state
are-
police has laptops, so I assume there'd be some sort of state bid for that.
I'll see what we can do. Yeah, they went with, I think they're going with Dell's right now. Yeah. What else I got here? So it looks like, both banks, from what I'm being told, not. As far as the local banks, funding for the cruiser
Yeah.
loan have refused. One of them said something about applying for a lease program or something like that. Kari may have more information on that than me. I just read a short email on it.
So our local banks won't give us a car loan.
Correct.
Our credit's good.
I don't know if it was that or they didn't want I don't know what they wanted. They didn't like the one-time payment once a year. I don't know
Oh,
why they wouldn't do it. But they really would like to work in the future with us if we had.
If they want to work in the
I
future.
just read that.
this is when we need them,
Yeah.
like right now.
So I guess, what would you like us to, do you want us to get the bank paper, look at a contract for it to you guys so you can say yay or nay on the one out of Mass?
No, I didn't like it.
You didn't?
I mean, didn't it have awful interest rate? I'm trying to remember
7%.
Do we know what's in the Cortina fund?
I don't have a clue.
Maybe we should take a look and see what's in there. We should probably have a police committee meeting and hash this over.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Might need Kari with you for banking stuff.
Yeah, that'd be good. So Bill, if you could help us set up a meeting and include Kari on the banking part. It's discouraging. God.
So the other thing is, the building is fantastic. I got
Great.
to use it again today. Got to use the holding cell and everything. We don't have an APHIS machine yet, and I'll tell you, because we didn't have an APHIS machine, I didn't realize this, but if you don't have your prisoner at court at 3 o'clock, not 3:04, at 3 o'clock, they say go, nope, don't want them. Call the judge and get bail set. So we took our prisoner to the VSP, fingerprint and photograph, got the back thing, 3:04. Yeah, we're not taking them. So I had to drive back to our office.
call a judge, get bail set. He ended up releasing one on a citation flashlight for tomorrow, but still, it's a waste of 45 minutes anyways that I did that. Can't wait to get APHIS that's held up somewhere in the delivery process for some reason.
Yeah, you folks have already ordered it, right?
Yes,
'Cause we approved it quite a while ago.
yes. On good news is all the doors and stuff in our offside have been fixed.
Good.
We have an officer who is quite handy and adjusted everything himself, and we're set to go. Two things. I have one officer's OCD, which I like very much. There's a hole in one of the walls they made for the evidence refrigerator door that goes into the wall.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
still a hole in the wall. They said they're gonna try to fix that hole, make it pretty. That's in the one bay, the second bay over closest to the fire department. If you wash your car and there's a line in the cement, if the water goes there, it flows up against the wall, separating the two of them. But for some reason, the floor is sloped that way. Those are the two only complaints that we have. We'll probably end up getting a squeegee or something. I don't want them to hack up the floor to fix
Yeah.
a little drip, but that's the only two
Okay,
things.
so Bill, those two things,
List.
add to the list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everything else is good.
What was the thing? Is there any sign of roof leaks on the police department side?
Haven't seen any.
Wasn't that what we were talking about earlier in fire committee? Yeah.
It's not leaking, or it is?
Something that is.
Oh, really?
I didn't.
I haven't seen any leaks on our side.
Okay.
I'll look tomorrow.
Yeah, please do and let Joe know if it's something we need to follow up on.
The other thing, we did, not we, my officer, Officer Placus, we were in need of a refrigerator in the squad room. And he went to a local business in the town. Asked them if they had something dented or used or pulverized in some way, as long as it worked. And they go, what's the dimensions? He gave to him. They go, how about that one brand new in the box? He goes, that would fit. And they gave it to us. So
Wow.
pretty nice.
Right. You're doing a thank you note?
We will.
Okay. Or if you want it to come from us, just give the details to Bill and
Okay. I will.
thank you. Yeah, it's great.
I think that's all I have at this point.
Okay. Questions for our police chief? Anybody? Yep.
The details on the car and how much we need and what we were looking to borrow to buy this car, so we could pay it with a depreciation fund is what I know the plan was. And that's why we wanted to do the balloon payments. That's around 70 grand for the car, I think.
75. I think.
75. Okay, in the bank that we talked originally, they had was it a really high interest rate or something? Was
I think
it
it was 7%.
7?
Yeah. I just thought we could do better.
I don't know. Well, obviously not. Because,
Yeah, I mean, no,
local
it's-
bank here in Rutland won't lend us money, but a bank in Massachusetts will. Or wherever, because, I don't want to lose this car because it's
I
sitting.
understand.
So I don't know, but maybe you guys meet as soon as you can and make a decision and,
Try, Joe.
yeah, well, I'm just saying, if we lose the car, then we're going to be into
At
that waiting.
last we left it, we were gonna offer to put a deposit down, did anything, so that we would secure the vehicle. Remember that?
Yeah.
We did agree at last meeting.
Yeah, to do that.
Yeah, so
know
you
if
might
you-
want to follow up on that and
Okay.
just, and let's find out how much is in Cortina.
That's a Kari question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, because the waiting time, if you have to order one's a year pretty near.
yeah,
Yes.
we'll do that. Okay, anything else for our chief, police chief? Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Barbara Noise Pulling.
Good
Hi
evening.
there. Good evening.
Hi, I really don't have a whole lot this evening. We're just doing the usual boundary line adjustments. And we're taking baby steps in the river corridor ordinance, as I think you folks would want us to do at this point. We're looking at language for an ordinance right now and just taking our time with that, and then maybe doing some public meetings coming up. I don't know if that fits into your idea of what you'd like us to do with that ordinance? Or not?
Well, you have to do public meetings anyway, but yes, I think before we get too far, I think townspeople would like to know what the ordinance would look like, what it would involve, and what restrictions there would be.
Yeah,
Can we
that's what
see
we
it
were.
first?
Yeah, we would like it first, though, please.
Oh, you like the presentation first?
Well,
the
the
ordinance, okay.
ordinance, or the draft, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking. That, I mean, we were thinking of doing some informational meetings. But then we decided that, without what the ordinance and what we're proposing, we're not giving the people that much. We can give them some information on flooding and state, disaster relief and things like that. But they're going to keep asking, what does it mean for my property?
Right. That's
So.
right. Okay. Any questions for Barbara? Okay. If not, thank you very much.
Okay, short and sweet.
It was. Thanks. Larry, you're here. Do you have anything on the transfer station? Okay.
What you want to do is the appointment for SWAC.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Very good. Okay. In your packet
Oh,
is,
maybe we should wait till he leaves so he can't object.
I know. Well, I just won't recognize them. It'll be fine. It is time to reappoint our representatives to the Solid Waste Alliance Communities. The form's already filled out, so we don't have a choice.
He's already agreed.
The SWAC shall be represented by one representative from each participating town, which we are, and then there is a space for alternate. We're proposing that Larry Dell Veneri be our representative and Steve Canny be our alternate. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second? And seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, and I'm going to circulate this. Notice I didn't look up to recognize anyone in the back of the room, so. Okay, anything else? Next up, Marcia Chioffi. Hi, Marcia.
Hi, Mary. Hi, everyone. The only thing I have tonight is the bid proposal for reappraisal. We've got that all solidified, and next week we are going to send that out to the approved list of appraisal vendors. I'm not going to give any update on the Act 68 because that's a work in progress, and there's so much going on that if you flip a coin, tomorrow something else will be different.
Okay, you said a bid proposal. Do you mean the reappraisal plan status, the letter that we received from Remick?
That's right. That's the reappraisal status. We will not be getting the reappraisal enforcement to go to reappraisal, excuse me, until July, but we're jumping ahead of that and sending out the bid proposals.
Okay. And as she warned in her letter that most of the appraisal companies around are waitlisting towns until 2029. You think that's going to happen to us?
Absolutely.
All right. Question. Yeah.
Marcia, just thinking ahead a little bit, because we haven't done a reappraisal since 2013, we have a little bit of money built up in the fund for that. But if the state sticks with the 6-year schedule, do you have any sense what that's going to look like as far as us having to pay for these every 6 years? Are we be way short on the amount of money that we get that goes towards that?
Well, I think we're gonna have to get together and maybe look at putting aside an extra amount of money every year to supplement the, what we get from the state for reappraisal. But I think that's something that we need to look at next year. I think right now we would be okay. It's over close to, I think it's close to 260,000. But with the reappraisal, we're getting into 2030 right now. We'll have to look at, what we might need to set aside for reappraisal.
Yeah, okay,
So we may have to start putting our own money in
yeah,
at some point
Yes,
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep,
to cover that.
yep.
And the
Rather
money
than-
that we get for that comes from what, transfer tax?
It comes from property valuation and review. We get $8.50 per parcel for
Oh, it's,
every parcel that we have in Rutland Town.
so it's a fixed amount every year. We know what it's going to
Correct.
be.
Yes, yep.
Okay,
We
so
do.
when we get to the point of actually getting a quote for this thing,
Well,
we'll
you-
have some
yeah.
idea of,
Right.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that's changing rapidly as well, and will continue to in coming years. But we'll have some idea of, okay, here's how much we're going to get over a 6-year span versus,
Right.
I guess, what it's discussed. So.
And what PV&R has proposed is that we look at what we've got right now and take a look at when the reappraisal will happen to see if we need more funds, and maybe set aside in the next 3, 4, 5 years to offset the price of the reappraisal.
okay. Alrighty. Any further questions? Thank you, Marcia. Appreciate your
right.
work on that.
Thank you, Mary. Right.
Okay, next up. Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief. Now, the fire committee met with the chief just before this meeting, so he's gonna run through the checklist that he has, that he's noticed of things that still need to be done, and this is for Joe's benefit and also go in the minutes to continue working on our punch list. So,
All right. Punch list so far. We got one computer wire that's broken in the office, so they need to run a new wire from the office to that computer room. Door locks I put on there. Ropes for the hose tower I already ordered and paid for. I have the welding class at Stafford making the bottom part that you put the hose over.
that's great.
CO alarm, which sets the fire alarm off and calls the fire department, needs to be turned up. You can't even drive out of the garage without it going off. So we've had like 3 fire calls at the station so far.
Too sensitive.
It was sensitive, yeah. So, garage door openers. When you drove outside, the buttons didn't work unless you actually hung out the door and up the truck. So one of the doors broke already. So overhead door came, fixed it. And they told us if we got little antennas outside, the door openers would work. And they thought it was supposed to be on there anyway. So I went there today and they were there putting them on. So
Okay.
And
those are done, except for the pickup and the 2 police bays. I don't know if yours are screwed up too or not, but they'll come back if they
We
are.
actually ordered one ourselves and tried it out and it works so good. You're gonna be down like by the state place at the bottom and the door starts. But we bought it ourselves at this point.
Is it already on?
It is,
Oh.
one bay works great, so we ordered it. It's like, I don't know.
Okay.
$40.
So I don't need to tell them to come do it.
It'd be nice, great if they would pay for it. I'm
Well,
sure we're gonna pay for it. when we go.
According to them, that was supposed to be done when they put the doors in.
Oh, really?
That's what the guy told us.
Okay, well, yeah.
Get a bill, I'll let you know.
Okay, yes, please.
Are you concerned, Chris, like we had the problem before with the door openers and the radios
Remember how they used to?
I do
open?
remember that.
So-
I know that's why we didn't use them.
Right.
I haven't tried that out yet,
Okay.
but I'm hoping since it's
Yeah.
Yeah. right.
25 now.
Well,
it's not gonna
the
be
old
bad.
ones that we had to take the antennas off the door openers because they were too sensitive, and that's why the radios would shut them.
Yeah.
Or open them.
Yeah, those are like old radio boxes though. Those
Yeah,
are-
well,
I think those used a
I
different
would
frequency.
proof it
We'll
before
try
you
it.
try that.
I remember the door coming down on Clifford.
Yeah, and back of engine too.
Even when I was there, you could key the mic and you could hear the box clicking on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Even though it was disconnected.
Yep. That's why we disconnected them, because the doors kept changing position. So just something to be mindful of.
All right. Let's see. Antennas, I talked to that guy today. The radios finally showed up yesterday. They won't be here for a few weeks to put them up. The kitchen cabinets are done. They came yesterday, finished all the everything, put the doors on that were supposed to be on, the handles. The only thing they didn't do was put that cover under the kitchen sink to hide the pipes, so you can wheel your
Oh, yeah.
wheelchair under it. Like the one in Center Rutland. The boiler room door just needs some tweaking. It doesn't close. The sprinkler pump will be here Thursday. They're going to put it in the garage Thursday, and Naylor and Breen will be here Friday with a crane to put it through the hatch in the roof. And the sprinkler guys will be there Friday to start hooking it up. And if they're not done, they'll come back Monday. But I can't imagine it'll take too long if everything goes well going through the roof. Water filter, it's in there. The plumber's piped it. Unfortunately, the guy that supplied it put the head together backwards, so he's trying to hire the plumbers to come back or find another plumber to reverse the pipes. So it's in there, but it's not working at the moment. That's all I had for so far on the
And
punch
we had
list.
already mentioned the water, the leaking roof turns out, you think maybe to be
Gary
condensation?
came and looked and thought it was condensation because they didn't insulate the pipe all the way to the roof in the pickup bay. They did everywhere else, but not in the pickup bay. So he's coming Thursday, so he's gonna check into it more.
Okay. And Chief Dumas is going to check about any
Yeah.
leaks on your side. Okay. On the police side.
They didn't mention anything about the controls for the fire pump, getting those changed out. You haven't heard
Did I
anything?
mention it?
No, you haven't heard anything
Oh, I
from,
haven't. No.
okay.
No.
Because when Vic Shappy called me yesterday, I asked him about it, but he didn't have any answers for me.
Sure. Is the sprinkler guy doing it or JJ?
Well, JJ is gonna have to put it in, but somebody ordered the wrong parts. The building is designed, the electrical engineer designed the building to have a transfer switch for that
Oh, yeah, I remember.
sprinkler pump. And so the controls they put in came without it. And there's some concern that the proper controls, there isn't room enough. And whether or not they can fit those in the existing cabinet. So it's one of those things we don't want to let slide.
Right.
And I haven't heard anything from VMS whether they've got this resolved. There's some glitch between the sprinkler designer and the sprinkler installer that the right equipment wasn't ordered for the electrician to put in. So we gotta, because as of now, the fire pump doesn't work with the generator.
Right. I can try to, I'll stop there Thursday when they're there and. maybe
Yeah, I'll
see-
try to come down.
Other than that, I don't have anything for the anything else on my little punch list here.
Hey, is there a physical punch list somewhere that we keep adding to, or is there?
We haven't,
That's right.
each department head was gonna work on things within theirs and put
Okay.
them together, and then that, we can get them to Gary so they can.
Okay, and they're going in the minutes now, so.
Yep.
We'll need to call them all out of the minutes and pass them on.
We did get all the appliances. They're all in.
Good.
Yeah, so we're getting closer.
Fire committee met to go over these, and we also, I mentioned homework. There are two ordinances that need updating, and I think Bill just circulated copies for you. One is the alarm system ordinance, which is updated and it incorporates an old standalone ordinance, or the proposal is to do that. The next is the private fire hydrant ordinance, which is, there's some minor tweaks to that. Rather than taking the time tonight, since we've got two firefighters here, maybe if we could put them on the agenda for next meeting, just cruise through these, see if you have any questions, raise them with the chief or with Bill. And we'll take a look at these and hopefully adopt them next meeting, if that's okay with folks. Silence. You don't have to do it now. Okay. All right, next meeting. Thank you. Anything else for our fire chief? The chiefs reported that they were working on internal policies concerning a lot of stuff that used to be, I think, in the ordinance, or so there's, I'm encouraging them to keep, you know, policies and procedures and how they're actually running the department and uniforms and showing up for calls and all of that. That should be policy rather than in bylaws. So I believe you're working in that direction, and you'll have something to, so that they can more readily change those things inside the department rather than going through a whole ordinance or bylaws revision process every time they want to do a tweak. So, okay. Questions about that? All right. Anything else for our chief? If not, thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, Kari Clark, town clerk.
Good evening.
Kari.
Few things today. I put a few things on your desk, Mary, but because of the
Yeah.
coffee clutch, I wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if I should put them on everyone's desk. So if
Okay, I'm
you could
passing
circulate them.
around the local option tax
Correct.
receipts.
I got two.
Okay.
And then the
Checks.
second one is it's the capital improvements balance.
Yep,
So you should have
good.
two sheets of paper.
Okay, we do.
Great. And then you should also have couple liquor license, one page of liquor licenses, but it's two different places.
They're
It's
different. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, got that. What would you like to start with?
Oh, it doesn't matter. You can do the liquor license. It's for existing places, East Restaurant, and then Sandry, which you did a couple weeks ago, but then they sent in another one. So I think it's just a second class
Second
license.
class, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there are three applications, and I'll look to Chief Dumas. One is for JW Sandry, a second class license. One is for East Restaurant LLC, a first class restaurant bar license. And also the third one is East Restaurant LLC, third class restaurant bar license. The chief is indicating that these are all okay to go if we will approve them. What's your pleasure?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve. Is there any discussion? And we all get to sign.
Great, thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. 225.
And then so the things that you passed around, we received our third installment of local option tax money early in February. And it was a good amount of money. So if you can see the number next to February 14th, it is $454,624.80. And if we look at what we were anticipating for the year, which we still have one more payment for our fiscal year, we were anticipating 1.3. So we won't need very much to get to our anticipated number. We will exceed it in our next payment. We have about $81,000 left to reach our goal. And that will be easily done in the next one. So we will be going over our anticipated amount
Good.
of money, which is good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I wish Dave Sears were still here because he needs to learn how to give good news like this. So thank you.
Well, that was the good news. The bad news. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's more of a like a red flag or a yield sign.
Yeah.
I wanted to see, well, I've been keeping track of the capital improvements for this year. And
Yeah.
I would suggest, obviously I can't tell you what to do, but I would suggest that there shouldn't be too much more spending coming out of the capital improvements fund until we get through our year. If you look on your page at the bottom, we still owe VMS 141,000, and then the orders that are in front of you have about 27, almost 28,000 in them for the public safety building. Considering those two things, we have a balance of $122,000 left for the year.
Okay.
So that significantly got depleted real quickly.
Yeah.
So
Well, we were, thank you. That's why we had that meeting early on, and I've been keeping track on this little thing in my desk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is including, the audit sweep over. So we went right
Yeah.
through it. What was I going to say? Oh, in the orders, there is a red sticky note on one of the invoices from CVC. I think it's in the police folder, but it's not for police. I called Ted today and I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware. It's for radios, I think, for the emergency management room. And it's like $7,000. And obviously we put it in the orders, but I wasn't sure if that was talked about at some point, if that was approved.
We did talk about it at the fire committee meeting, right?
This goes
Yeah.
back months.
Yeah, no, JP brought this up. I think we
For
approved it.
the
a long time
antennas
ago.
on the radios.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that
Oh, okay.
antennas in?
Yeah, there's technically the mobile services of the radios.
Yeah.
In there as well. They tied it all on one invoice, but
That's fine. I
Yeah.
just wanted you guys to be aware. I didn't know if that was something that was talked about and I couldn't remember.
Okay. Bill, is your recollection that this was approved a while
Oh,
ago?
it was.
Okay,
It-
all right.
It was part of JP's list and
Yeah.
it was one of the ones he came back and said, we need this too, and
Okay.
it was added, so, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
it's the VHF, the UHF radio,
Right.
the two remote heads,
Perfect.
and some cables.
That's fine with me. And it's in the anticipated total on your sheet for capital improvements anyway. So I
Okay,
just
good.
didn't know. I remember
Mhm.
some things, but not all of them. So we went over the local options, we went over the capital improvements, and the liquor license is good. That's all I really had, except to remind people that Tuesday, well, starting Monday evening, we'll talk about the budgets, and then we'll go into Tuesday for the election portion of our town meeting. It's unusual, we're hearing really nothing, like we're hearing crickets in the office. We're not exactly sure. It doesn't seem right. No one's asking questions, no one's asking for ballots. So I'm hoping that everyone shows up in person on Tuesday to vote. Hopefully, or they're under the impression that they think they're getting ballots mailed. I'm not really sure. But fingers crossed that it goes well. But we'll be there at regular polling places Tuesday. And we'll have the results that evening for everyone, and we'll move on.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's it for me tonight.
Any questions for our town clerk and treasurer? Good information. Thank you, Kari, for pulling all of this together.
You're welcome.
Mary, I just
Yeah.
make a recommendation.
Sure.
Radios. Personally, I wouldn't pay the bill until they're in.
That's what we discussed.
I don't know how
Can
much
you-
it is, but. I'm sure
The
it's-
suggestion is that
Like six
The-
grand or so.
we may have the radios, they haven't been installed, right? And it could be a couple of weeks or longer, so that we hold off on paying that bill until all of the work is completed. That did include installation, right?
I got a quick question. Chris, do you guys have a microphone or some sort of a speaker over in fire, for your fire calls? Without having radio?
We had a speaker in the bays in the old building.
I know, but do you have one now?
We don't have anything right now.
Are you gonna get something?
I probably.
We're thinking the same, we had a speaker in the squad room, so we ain't gonna have your portable on all the time to hear what's going on. That's kind of something we all overlooked.
Okay, well, you've heard Kari's report about how much
I
money
did.
is sitting in, so, you know,
Also,
we're,
it's just a Radio Shack speaker.
do they do Radio Shack anymore?
Well,
Well, that's why Bill's working
We
for
can-
us.
we could probably afford a Kenwood speaker.
All right.
But it would be good if both sides knew what was going on.
Our pagers don't work in the new building. You can't.
It's a metal building.
Right.
Metal
you can't
building.
hear it.
Metal buildings don't work.
Cheap speaker in the bay, so you could hear the radios going on.
Okay, all right. And you probably have money somewhere in your budget to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
And the police department will chip in too, right? Okay.
got money in your budget? I don't know.
No, his
It's
laptop.
it's
his
highway that
laptop
doesn't have
shit.
any money
No,
left.
He has no money.
Not a garage door opener.
Yeah.
I can let you go borrow some money if you need some.
Yeah.
It comes with a high interest.
I got two speakers came out of an old truck, you know.
Anything else for Kari?
100%, yeah.
Okay, so just hold off on that bill, please. I'm paying that, please, Kari.
Yeah, we
And
can do
stick it-
that.
Yeah, okay, thanks. All right, getting down here, Mike Delehanty, no? John Paul, nope. Joe DiNardo, anything you need?
Other
to
than what
cover?
what we talked about,
Okay.
the sprinkler, the
Okay.
cabinets and the fire pump stuff, but yeah,
Okay.
we pretty much hit all that.
And we do have Teresa Mealy on the line. And one of the items under action items A, review for adoption, the updated personnel policy. So we got it all out to you for review and any questions or comments. Teresa was a consultant who assisted Matt and I as the personnel committee who spent quite a bit of time going through it. Let me start with the select board. Do you have any particular areas or questions that have come up as you've gone through it?
The cross-reference guide is on their page.
Okay, yeah, there is. Teresa sent along the HR, okay, it says at the top, HR required, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Things that are new, and then things that were also in the 2022 version. Okay, so you can, and then a couple of things that need decisions by this board, or any different direction that you want the document to take. There's 1, 2, like 3. So we'll start, other than these things on the checklist, anything the select board particularly noticed as you were going through this policy?
The only thing, Mary, and I brought this up before,
Mhm.
and I don't know where this would fit, is our salaried employees. And if that is part of the personnel policy as to what we expect, whether we set a number of hours per week, and if they exceed that, certain number, you know,
Remember that,
businesses do that. I've talked to several people that work in construction that are salaried employees, and they have a specific, you know, there's they're expected to work this many hours a week, and if they exceed a certain number, then there would be compensation. And I don't know if that should be in this document or where that would be.
Ultimately, probably in here. So as I remember, 40 hours is the standard.
Right.
And- yeah,
Yeah, just shut the door even.
well, you can't because it's a public meeting, so.
Don't watch it.
And
it'll be
your
fine.
suggestion or thought was that if for any week or pay period that it is, what, say,
If we set it, so we expect our salaried employees to work 40 hours a week.
Mhm.
And in a week, if they, and it would have to be like, I don't know what you would call it, but there's like a certain amount they could work over and still be considered, but if they cross a certain threshold, so say they work 50 hours in a week,
Mhm.
Then there would be some compensation for whatever. But I don't know how this works with municipal salaried employees. It might be different in construction and other industries where, that's a company's policy. And I don't think we're obligated to. I think this is more a goodwill thing. So you get to those rare occasions where people are working, for some reason, something comes up, and they work an extra 10 or 15 hours in a pay period.
Mhm.
Is there some compensation that we could be looking at or something? And would that be part of this policy? That's the only question,
let me say it is not at this point.
It's
So,
not, no,
yeah,
I
the
did not.
question is whether to add
Is this
something
where
like
we
that.
would put it, or is that something the board would amend into the policy, would be how salaried employees are treated?
We would,
Yeah, and I don't know what the rules are. That's why I was asking.
right? Any comments? Teresa, do you have any guidance on this?
Sure. You certainly can be more generous than the law requires. There is no difference that I'm aware of when we're talking about salaried employees, other than your police department and your volunteer firefighters. There are some exceptions for those groups of people. But in general, when you're looking at the Fair Labor Standard Act, there's no difference between the private sector and a municipality. So the rules are the rules. What you would want to do if you're going to be more generous is not focus on you must work X number of hours if you are a salaried employee, because a salaried employee, the focus is not on the number of hours worked, but on the job performed. That doesn't mean that you can't create a benefit for employees who happen to be salaried that work over X number of hours. You could do it. It may be easier to do work week than pay period. Those are all details you can certainly work out. And then you'd want to decide whether you were going to pay them at straight time or time and a half. So long and short of it is, yes, you can do that. I'm aware of that happening as well in the private sector. It's just a matter of how do we write it up and put it in the handbook under the benefit section so that you're meeting the you are staying within the definition of salaried employee, but also providing that benefit for more hours worked than X. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and there's also the question of salaried employees who are also elected officials, because this handbook doesn't really address the elected officials. So, but whatever we would do, we would have to be consistent salaried employee to salaried employee, I would suspect.
I'm not 100% sure of that, Mary. When I looked at comparing an elected official to an employee, they were pretty different.
Okay.
I can go back to the notes that I took when I went over that. And you're right, we opted to make sure the handbook didn't reflect anything for elected officials, even though some of the handbook did apply to elected officials. The goal is that we would have a separate document so that it would be less confusing. But I am not aware that there is an hour requirement for your elected officials. There
There
may
is
be
not. I don't believe
varying
there is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can certainly look at that and get back to you though.
All right. So while we have you, do you just want to run through the decisions that we need to make
Sure.
on the chart that you have?
So the sick leave, and I am going to need a little bit of help explaining this. I'm just trying to find the sick leave, and if it would be helpful, I can share my screen. Sure, when you want to find it. So you're one of the municipalities that pays out any unused sick time at 50% when an employee leaves.
Right.
You employ. One second, I've got it here. I just want to make sure it's large enough for people to see.
And I've got it on page 11 of if you have the printout.
You're more familiar with that than me. Do you see this in your sleep?
Not anymore. I was seeing it.
So
replaced by, fire alarm ordinances now.
So your current, the policy section on this is sick leave for employees leaving town's employ. What has been added is employees who have worked more than 12 months and leave employment with the town for reasons such as retirement, and this is the section that you would have had previously, resignation or layoff will receive payment of 50% for sick leave earned but not taken. As I understand it, there is also, because you do lump sum, meaning you give all of your employees the full amount of sick leave in advance. If people use all of it and then leave before the 12-month period, there's no requirement to pay it back. And it's not that anyone is saying they must. It's that when you're not, when you haven't nailed that down, then you're going to end up making decisions differently, trying to remember what did we do before. And we want to make sure you just have a really good, consistent practice for handling that. So that's one piece. And then there seems to be sometimes folks not using their sick leave and saving it. And then getting a payout, and then others using their sick leave and not getting a payout. It sounded to me when it was described that there's a bit of difficulty with that and probably some hard feelings around it. Mary, maybe you and Matt can, or even Kari, could speak to that more eloquently than I just did.
I do know that we wanted to have a policy in place that is clear and that, but that we're preserving the 50% of this accrued sick benefits not taken as a payout. We've had that all along. We're attempting to do that. The 2 weeks notice, we wanted to make sure that there was some kind of forfeiture clause in there if an employee doesn't give 2 weeks notice, or if employment is terminated involuntarily other than layoff, as in the employee's fired. We wanted to be able to say, you're not going to get your sick benefits, you're fired. So the question for the select board, and did I explain that okay, Matt?
Yeah, I think it's clear what's in there now, and that I'm fine with what it says. I guess I've forgotten now what the difference is between this and what we had before, if anything.
I can jump back in. So the difficulty is when folks are using all of their sick leave, and Kari, if you may be able to help me with this a little bit.
So
Uh,
Teresa, are you suggesting we need to add a sentence in there to say
that
we've
was one.
already used?
Yes, the select board, I believe when we were discussing this, the intent is for the select board to decide if someone uses all of their sick leave and they've already been paid for it and they leave before the end of the year, are you going to require those folks to pay it back? That was one of the questions that came
I
up.
think my thinking on that is that it would have been implicit in the fact that we basically front load the sick leave. You know, you get it all at the beginning, it's available to you. There's not going to be a payback.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we should be going to a accrual thing throughout the year.
Yeah, there's other towns out there that front load it and you don't have to pay it back if you leave.
Yeah, I mean, you do it for the reason that if somebody is sick early on in their employment, they stay home, they don't infect everybody else.
And it's
So-
something that doesn't necessarily happen all the time. So it's not like you're dishing out a bunch of sick leave all willy-nilly to people that leave, you know. We try to retain our employees for a good amount of time.
You
So
try.
it's not something that's gonna happen, yearly, hopefully.
So, well, that's decision number one. Are you folks okay with the language as we have drafted it?
Yes, but if Teresa feels we need another
We need to
sentence
add-
in there to capture what we just said, then we should add that.
There's gotta be something added in there.
I think it would be clearer for you just because it sounds like this has been a discussion that's come up a few times and it's not as clear as it could be.
Okay, do you have the sentence in mind?
I think you could just say, unless someone has a different idea, that sick leave, hold on. I think we might be able to just, let's see. Sick leave used, I can't think of this statement, how to make sure we capture all of it. Sick leave used, if all sick leave is used prior to the end of the year and an employee leaves, you won't require it to be paid back. Let me just get that down so that we can tweak it if need be.
Okay. Okay, so we're okay, regardless of whether the language is exactly this. The idea is there's no requirement for payback of sick leave.
Somebody uses it and we,
Yeah.
within a
Yeah,
12-month period.
okay, so we're okay with that? Okay,
That this sentence looks good to me.
Oh, if all sick leave is used prior to the end of employment, the town will not require the employee to reimburse the town.
okay, very good.
Great.
All right, that's decision number one.
Okay.
You'll remember that at the very bottom of the first page, we did paid holidays. I think we've already approved that.
Yeah.
Was
Correct.
done. And on page 2, the comp time provision was likewise done by us as a separate document because that question was coming up with the police in particular. Okay, so we're on to page 3, just a heads up. We have removed performance evaluations. While we still think they're a good idea, the mandate of you must do them it would give us something that if we didn't do it, we could be in trouble. So we're okay. And then the bottom of page 3, under weather, Select Board needs to decide who has the authority to make the decision if employees are paid or unpaid. So bad weather closes the schools, say, do we then close town hall and the employees, do we pay them for weather-related closings.
When's the last time we closed town hall for weather?
Anything. Now we put a generator in so they have no excuse. They gotta show up.
Well, no, I mean, I do remember we closed it because there was no electricity.
Right.
That-
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
said.
can't do that anymore.
And usually no electricity is weather related.
Yeah, we
Right,
fix
right.
that.
Yeah, we fixed that.
Okay.
It, you
No
know, it
excuse.
happens so infrequently
I know.
that if for some reason, I mean, if we had a huge ice storm and the whole place, and we lost a day, I mean, it's built into the budget. Yeah, we're not getting a day's work out of these people, but it's like, we're not charging the taxpayers any more money because we've already allocated the money. I don't.
And you know, some people will be working like the highway crew because they've got to be
They're gonna,
cleaning
but
up
the
the
other
lots.
thing, the
Yeah.
other thing
Hope
is
so.
that, the other thing that we have now, and we didn't have before, is remote access.
True.
And there are things that can be done. I mean, if Kari could do stuff from home, probably that, yeah, the office is not open, but she may still have stuff at home, or some of the others that they could be, or the listers,
Mhm.
or anybody, so.
Well, Kari doesn't matter.
Right. No, that's right.
because-
Kari doesn't
but
matter.
her staff would.
So, okay, so I don't know, Bill, can you work from home?
I get access from home if I need it, but it is difficult to
Right.
do things.
But if you say you were gonna make phone calls or do a bunch of stuff, you know, and for some reason you didn't get here, which I can't even hardly imagine, because if that pager goes off, you're going anyway, so. I think it's almost a moot point.
Well, that's, you know, part of the question is, do we attempt to address it? And I was looking for what page it was on anyway.
It's
So
around
None of us
page
None of
30.
us have
30.
any town technology that goes home with us.
Right.
So everything we do would require personal devices to do it with.
Right. And that opens up another hole. Do we put the word in somewhere, just weather?
Yes, it's on my page, it's page 34, but Office 365, the pagination is different than what you have. It is in the section on leaves of absence where you see
Okay.
policy statement
Oh, I
bereavement,
see it.
very end.
It's on, when I printed it out, it's on my page 32.
32.
And it's the last paragraph and it's been crossed out. There it is, right up there.
Oh, yeah.
And the intent is to remove it from the handbook, but still for
Yeah.
you to at least have the conversation.
We may have to deal with it at some point, but it may not be that frequent that we need to include it. Is that kind of the consensus?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
we'll
think-
take it
Well,
out.
Conversely,
if
though,
it-
if you say we're gonna pay, because for the reasons Joe just stated, that's all that says. But then what the question came up was, well, who decides?
Yeah,
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I have a feeling if it's in there, it's more likely to happen more often than if it's not in there.
I mean, ultimately, the board has to sign everything.
I mean, if it's
So
some,
the board would make that decision whether somebody didn't show up for work because they
Does
couldn't
this-
get here.
does this actually affect anybody other than Bill? Because the listers make their own hours.
Yeah.
Carrie's, well, I guess the other people in Carrie's office.
assistance, yeah.
yeah.
The highway guys are gonna pretty much, I mean, I don't know, maybe there'll be a time when Dave can't get here, but. I
He
doubt-
better be trying.
He's gonna be trying, yeah. You know, I mean.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be, and if for some reason some weird fluke does pop up, then I
think
mean, we
Don't worry
could,
about it then.
we could make a decision as a board without it having to
Okay.
be in the policy.
it sounds like the consensus is to omit. Are you okay with that?
Or
Okay,
that's done.
Mary,
and that,
I'm sorry, I don't think you could see Robin Sweet's hand raised. Or it was
oh,
Robin.
no, I could not.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Robin, are you there?
I am. So my concern is that if you guys are wanting people to work from home, unless there is a bring your own device policy or the town provides technology, then Bill and the others that are in the town hall, excluding Kari, are going to have to use their personal devices. And while yes, everything you guys primarily do is public information, I don't
Not all
feel
of it.
comfy with using personal devices to do work. I mean, that's why I have 4 laptops. So that I
Yeah,
don't
no, well, I think
cross-contaminate.
we're dodging,
Yeah.
I think we're dodging that bullet, and we haven't said employees should work at home, so we're just taking out the weather thing. And
Not advocating that.
we're not advocating work at home.
I just said they.
Okay. And
Okay.
the
with-
next
with
thought that I
some
had
technology,
was,
they could.
if you're going to make the decision as a board, does that need to be noticed?
Well, we're going to adopt the whole thing because we have not done it yet. We're just walking through the points here that we were asked to
Right,
focus
no,
on.
I don't think I'm clear with my question. So if you're going to make the decision to close town hall because of weather or allow all the staff to stay home because of weather, as a board, does that need to be noticed?
There's an emergency provision in the open meeting law.
Okay, I haven't read it. I don't know. So wanted to ask.
We have to go through that training, so we're all doing that.
And if the
I
town
don't.
hall is
I
closed,
don't.
at least if the clerk's office is closed,
Yeah,
that's Kari's decision.
that's right. That's Kari's. Yeah.
She decides, and I think it would be the same with Marcia. If she decided the weather was too bad and nobody's coming in.
Okay. So we have now gone through the checklist. We've had, I believe at this point, your personnel committee is recommending that we adopt the personnel policy. What we don't have. Okay, did I miss one on the last page?
Medical providers.
Medical providers. All right. I don't like this one, so I shouldn't be the one explaining it. So we'll have Teresa explain it.
Thank you, Mary. So this has to do with workers' comp injuries. The state statute does say, and it is good advice and a good section, I think, of the statute, that employers can decide which medical provider to send their injured employee to first. And you have options in Rutland. You could send them to the emergency room, which is not always the best way to send people unless you don't have any other options. But Clear Choice Medical is available, as well as occupational health partners. Identifying who those medical providers are helps your employees get to the right place. The statute also says that after an employee goes to that medical provider of the employer's choice, they can then choose someone other than that medical provider, and they need to fill out a document. The idea here is that you really want to choose a medical provider that understands workers' comp and that is balanced in terms of their approach with the injured employee on the job and the employer. When an employee goes to their personal doctor, then that personal doctor is seeing them typically, not suggesting that they're not balanced in their approach, but this is a person that they already have a relationship with. And so that's what the statute allows. But again, workers' comp is something that, you folks haven't run into often. But my understanding is that there isn't a uniform process for walking through and what to do. So it takes the guesswork out so that your supervisors and leaders know what to do and can quickly assist an injured employee and get them to the right place. and also with medical billing and that sort of thing. When you're working with a provider that provides that occupational medicine, they understand the workers' comp billing process, so we're not tangling personal insurance up with workers' comp process. So there are a lot of good reasons to decide. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to just share, here's a way to streamline things. Here's what the statute says. This is typically the way that employers, in my experience and in my training, handle it. But it's always going to be your decision what you would like to do.
So if we designate an office, are we supposed to have some kind of contract with that office for them to see our people, or?
Great question, Matt. No, you don't have to. One of the things that is best practice is to establish just a relationship so that they know the kind of work that people are doing here, so that when they come in to be seen, if, you know, there is an injury, then that medical provider is familiar. Oh, the town of Rutland, you know, this person works on the, you know, the highway crew, and this is the kind of work that they're doing. And that can be really helpful, not necessarily when they're treating the injury, but the return to work and transitional work that they advise. If they understand the nature of the work and they have a relationship with you, which is really nothing more than a phone call or a conversation, there are no contracts that I'm aware of that anyone has ever had to sign. There are likely exceptions to that, but not that I'm aware of.
So if somebody has a very severe injury, we obviously want them to go to the emergency room if that's important.
This is
or
not
appropriate. So,
this is not a replacement. Sorry, Matt, I didn't mean to interrupt you. This is not a replacement for a 911 call. 911 call, you call 911.
but how would you word it? Let's say we were going to designate occupational health or whatever. How would you word it? Guidance here, because this is really what this is doing, is serving as guidance to department heads, right? To tell their people where to go.
Yeah.
You can either put it in your handbook, which, you know, Mary, I think that's where Mary sees it a little bit different, and that's okay. You don't have to have it in your handbook, or the select board can just, you know, say, look, we would like our employees or the leaders to direct employees to the, you know, either the Rutland Regional Medical Center, ER, if the Clear Choice and Occupational Health Partners happen not to be available. Or it can be that you can call Clear Choice and they may say, look, the injury that this person has is not something we're able to treat here. You need to take them to the ER. It is a nice way to support your employees so that they're not having to go someplace and just sit and wait to be treated. Usually with Clear Choice and Occupational Health, they're not finding out when they get there, oh, you need to go someplace else after having waited. It streamlines the process for your employee as well. But you don't have to put it in your handbook.
How does it streamline it for them? Because the supervisor's calling in advance, or?
They can. That certainly is one option, yes, and I would.
What's your pleasure? We don't have any established relationship now. So if there's a problem and it's serious enough, you know, or medical attention is sought, I'm assuming most employees just go up to the ER.
Which may not be the quickest.
I mean, you have Clear Choice,
Mm-hmm.
Community Health, Occupational Health, whatever you want to call it. They have an urgent, they have an urgent care, and you got the ER. Those are like the three in town that if you got boo-boos and you gotta get fixed now, you're gonna go to one of those three.
Well, occupational health is separate, right?
Occupational health is a separate provider.
Yeah.
Okay. And CHCRR with their urgent care thing.
Yeah, they have the urgent care.
So there's
I think we'd have to check. It wasn't my understanding that they were available to do work-related injuries, but certainly, that's something that should be looked into.
All right, so kind of two questions. One is, do we do anything? Sounds like we don't need to do anything, even if we wanted to have this option. We don't need to do anything in this handbook, but we should be exploring it because it might be a benefit down the road. Or am I right? We don't really need to include anything here.
You don't have to put it in your handbook. I have been putting it in handbook simply because I like employees to know, hey, if anything happens, here's our process. That's just my idea. Some clients like to put it in there. Some clients prefer not. And they just let the supervisors or department managers know, here's our process, and they have it outside of the handbook because they would be the one directing the injured employee, or should be directing the injured employee anyway.
I guess the risk would
Times a
be if
day.
somebody gets injured and then of course, God knows if they're ever going to read the policy anyways, but in theory, they get injured, they go home from work and they go, geez, I don't know, my back, I think I did something to my back. And then they go to their personal doctor, but they don't tell them anything about it being work related. That's when you
They usually ask.
run into
They do
issues.
ask.
Actually, most places
Yeah.
you go now, like, is your visit today the result of an accident? That might even, when I just go for a wellness checkup, they ask me that. But the other thing is some of these places have operating hours.
Yeah,
So during the day, these places are open, but guys are out midnight, slip and fall under a truck for some reason, bang your head, you're going to ER.
yeah.
The ER is going to be like the ultimate where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
During working hours, like I think the place on Stratton Road, that urgent care, I think it is like 8 to 8. They're open.
Something like that.
And some of the others are the same way. They have operating hours. So within those hours, what I think we should do, and I don't know if this is the place to put it, is that department heads should have an emergency or an injury, a work-related injury plan. Where are they going to send their employee? So if one of Ed's employees gets injured, where are you going to send them? Which are going to be your choice?
Depends how bad the injury is.
Yeah,
Depends on what the injury is, right?
Yeah.
The same with Dave, but it's the same thing. If you guys are out at midnight and one of your guys falls and gets hurt, I'm thinking winter, not gunshot wounds or any other stupidities that go with your line of work. But it's the same with Chris. At a fire call, guy gets hurt, they're usually going to the ER. And depending on the severity,
Yeah.
and obviously if they're going to be transported, then the ambulance is going to take them to the ER. So I think we should just put in here that, something that just tells department heads to have an emergency medical need plan for their department, just to make them aware of it. Dave should have an idea that if one of his guys gets hurt from 6 a.m. till whenever they're working, this is what we do or whatever. And just have that in there, but don't specify where they have to go. But they should have a plan. And I'm
So-
pretty sure you guys,
Sorry. This is kind of your generic plan. You really need to have a unified plan for all of your department heads, that they would follow the same process, because remember, the getting the medical attention is step one, because you want to take care of that person right away. But you also have your employer first report of injury, all of that information as well. So there's a coordination piece, but I agree with you. I think that gets handled more specifically outside of the handbook. And as long as, the department managers, department heads are hearing, look, you have options. And, here are 2 options that are available during working hours. Obviously, if it's a 911 or an emergency situation, you're going to get that person, the 911 help. And then outside of the operating hours, you don't have any other choice. They're going to the ER. So I think you can do both. Leave your handbook the way it is, unless you see anything that needs to be tweaked here. But otherwise, I would just do a separate a separate process. That's what most of my clients do. It's a separate process outside of the handbook because it's too detailed for the handbook.
Okay, so what we have now are, we've gone through the checklist of things that the select board has to make decisions on, and I think we have, so we're leaving the designated healthcare provider off, but we should pay attention to this and at least have some discussions about it. What we haven't resolved, and Teresa said she get some information, is the Joey's idea of the overtime, over overtime, I guess, the super overtime. How do we deal with that? And under what circumstances and how much? How do we pay for that? And is that something you're gonna, we could do it two ways. We could address it here, or we could address it separately in a separate policy after we look into it. And what do we do about this document that we now have in front of us that Matt and I never, ever want to see back again in our committee?
I think we can pick up Joe's question separately, and I would move to approve this as it is now.
With the changes we made this
We can
evening.
at least get
Because we
this part
can
in
add
place.
it to the policy at any
Right,
time.
we can always add to
Yeah,
it.
but we need to do, but
So Matt's made the motion to adopt the personnel handbook as we have amended it this evening.
second.
Motion's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any other things that jumped out at you as you were reading this hours on end over a cup of tea? Okay. Any other questions you have for Teresa before voting? All right, all in favor of the motion to adopt the personnel handbook as presented by the Personnel Committee and with the revisions we made tonight? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Okay. You. Yeah. All right. And thank you, Teresa, for all of your help on this.
You're welcome. I
Um,
will sign off unless you need me for anything else.
I don't think so. I'm just trying to think of how we, as they say, put a pin in Joe's suggestion so it doesn't get lost and we come back to it. And when we come back to it. So,
I have it on my list. If you would like me to do a little bit of research and draft something,
Yeah.
I can bring it to the Personnel Committee. Or I can bring it back to the board if you don't
well,
want
you
it.
can get it to the Personnel Committee and then we'll share it. So,
Then you can,
okay,
sure, we can do that.
that would be good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. And nice work, Mary and Matt. This was really a lot of work and you did a great job.
Joe has a question.
No, it's not a question. It's
Okay.
it's just on page 15, there's in the comp time, it says in excess of fourth, and it should be 40 hours. If you go to page 15 and you look at where it says comp time, it's just a grammatical thing.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Oh, yeah, in excess of.
it should be 40.
Instead of 40.
It's fourth. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's, I know, that was just,
He's good. Yeah,
That's
he's
a-
good.
Very good.
no,
Thank you.
All right.
yep, but that's all.
Thank you. And thank you, select board members for,
Yeah, right.
Bye.
yay. Bye.
Thank you.
So I would ask Bill to run off I think, well, maybe Teresa was. I probably should have asked her that. The final version with the tweaks that she made.
Yes.
So we'll look for that
I
and we'll,
anticipate that's gonna come from her.
yes. Yeah, you didn't want to type this whole thing? And we'll put it in your packet and we'll have it punched so it can go right in your handbook. All right, phew, that takes care of action item A, and we haven't heard from Bill Sweet, Town Administrator, so. Oh.
Mary, question. So we already heard from Kari, who still wasn't, so we had these drafts. Are we taking those up at a later time or?
Oh,
The
Um,
public records.
The balanced budget policy, and Joey reminds me, the public records policy, the accounting, auditing, and financial reporting policy. So maybe Bill can enlighten us about what, now the balanced budget and the auditing, accounting policies are ones that I haven't seen until this packet, so we haven't had a chance to.
They are ones, so we have that request from our meeting with the grant.
Right, okay,
We don't explicitly have the policy they're looking for. Some of these help get us closer to that, but in looking for some helpful language from the league on a policy, there are some, these reference one part of her request. These are model policies from the league taken and just filled in the blanks for us. It's just it puts on paper things we are doing already.
yeah.
But it makes it a little more official, but we can say to them, yes, we have an adopted policy that covers these things. So
You'll remember maybe that Bill and I zoomed into a meeting with the state I think it was compliance officer for our watershed grants that we were getting.
the MS4
The
stormwater grants.
MS4 grants, and it was Department of Environmental Conservation. And basically her job was to go through and make sure we have the policies in place so that we're complying with everything we said we would do in the grants. And so she spotted a couple of things and she's been passing them on to it. The lack of a written policy in these two areas was one of the omissions. So, and as Bill explained, it's stuff we're doing, most of it. I mean, there's one or two things that were a little different. It's stuff that we're doing, but
We don't
it's
have a
better to have it
policy.
in writing.
We don't have a policy telling us we're doing it,
Right, right.
even though we do it.
So do you want to try and do something tonight? Do you want to put it on the agenda for next meeting so we have a chance to read it over now that we know what we're doing? What's your pleasure?
Well, I did read them and I have a couple of comments on them, so. I don't-
Okay,
If it's time sensitive, then I guess we could slog through it now, otherwise.
It is and it isn't. I mean, we don't have them, but it'd be, being a policy, we can change them at any time.
right.
And this isn't
Oh.
going to alter the operation of the town in
It
any
will
way,
not.
shape or form.
It will not.
It's just making sure we have another piece of paper that says we're doing stuff right.
Well, there is one thing that would alter slightly what we're doing. And maybe maybe that's what Matt's going to bring up.
Let's hear Matt's comments.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to talk about first?
I think it was 1A. Let's start with 1A because that's.
Well, this is just foreign language that came from the league.
Yes, it is.
So they may know more about this than I do, but there's this part in here about elected auditors, and I just looked at the statute and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But maybe that's probably more on the legislature than us, but I mean, there's no provision in there about electing auditors, which we don't do, so I don't know, it's not, the section that's
Oh.
referenced there
So I
doesn't
saw
actually
that.
talk about electing auditors, but there is a section in there about appointing a professional, which is what we do.
Yeah.
The
So
town used to have
Yeah.
auditors.
That's right.
We used to
So-
elect auditors.
Yeah,
And I know
noted-
people that served in that capacity and then they decided to go to professional service.
Yeah, so I noticed section 1682B had a provision about, or made a reference to voting, eliminate the office. I don't know if that's something the town ever did or not. But
We did.
I think we
We
did.
did. We did. That's why you don't see auditors
So-
on the.
so
ballots
it's
anymore.
just, it struck me as odd, I guess, to have a reference to the elected auditors when we don't do that. If we voted not to do that, then I would suggest maybe we
Remove that
take that.
sentence.
We could remove the sentence, and that's fine. And so, I read that too, and I went back and forth in it, and it seemed like if we had an elected auditor, then our independent one would be in addition to that. But if we don't, there's just the one audit.
So
That's,
Yeah.
we just take that sentence out,
we
I
could take
think.
sense out. That's.
So then I had a note. Okay, and this is, I put a star at the end of the paragraph that carries over onto the second page. Where it says the report will be reproduced in the town's annual report each year. And my note to self says that section 1690B4 of the statute requires posting the audit report and the report on internal control on the website, which I didn't find when I looked. In fact, we put at least part of the auditor's report goes in the town
Yes,
report, but
yeah.
the current town report wasn't up on the website. We have the prior
So
one, and that report doesn't include the internal control report.
Okay.
So I think we may have to do some more posting on the website.
that's fine.
Okay,
So the new town report is now on the website.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I got that the posting version always comes after the printed ones. So
Yeah.
that is there. So I guess in some respect it is there, but it's not as easy. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to just navigate straight to it.
Well, and what's not clear, I mean, the statute just talks about the audit report. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a definition. So I'm not sure if even what's in the town report really meets the standard, because the town report has a letter from Kari saying if you want the full thing, it's available at the office. And I think maybe the statute is telling us the full thing just needs to go online, which would be
We've
the
got
most transparent thing to do anyways.
the A.M. Peisch letter, the independent auditor's report, which is on page 45. And then we have a note from Kari, to whom it may concern. Rutland Town finished an audit of the financial statements. Copies are available. So, and she included the terms used in the auditor report, so people could reference what types of funds they're looking at.
Yeah, I know that what we got from Andrew is longer.
Yeah, very much longer. So is that our question for Andrew? What did we put the right thing in the town report? And if not, we'll just post it on our webpage in addition to the town report.
I think Andrew probably ought to glance at this anyways. To me, it sounded like generally
Yes.
what we're doing, but
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
he should probably
Sure.
look at it, make sure that he agrees that everything's appropriately worded. And if he can answer that question, that'd be great. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe it's
So what the content that's gone in the town report over the last however many years had come from him, and that's we basically reproduce every year the updated version of that. So he's never brought up that we're either too much or not enough, but we can certainly get clarity on that.
if you want, you can have a note on it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you.
And a couple notes for the other one too, but
Yeah, I do. So we're holding on 1A because we want Andrew to see it. Has Kari seen these?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And is Kari okay with them? Kari's on still, if she would like to comment.
I'm here. So
Hi.
the internal controls, I think that's one of the reports that Andrew said is not for public knowledge. I
Right.
think that's one of those ones that is just, what do we do that we can improve on? And I think that's just for us to look at. So maybe
well, I
it
think
could be like
there's-
taken out of the wording of that policy.
what was the section of 1690B?
1624, 1682.
On the second.
Oh, you said 1690B4.
Yeah, so here's what the statute literally says. The legislative body shall post the audit report and the accompanying report on internal control over financial reporting on the municipality's website, if the municipality has a website. So it says. So
if you have a website, you can put it up, and if you don't have a website, you gotta do something else.
Well, we got one.
We can use it.
Right.
But
All right, so Kari, have you read these two proposed?
I have,
policies?
it was something that Bill brought to my attention, so I didn't put as much effort as I should have reading them word for word, but it's something that we can certainly mull over and make it our own. So whatever suggestions you have, I'm open to them. We were just trying to
Okay.
find some things that we do as town of Rutland that are, that were applicable.
Okay, so it sounds like, given that we want to check in with Andrew and give everyone time to read this, this is something that should go on next meeting's agenda.
Sure.
Okay, there was something. I was reading, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's somewhere that we're supposed to actually vote on those orders that we all sign. We all look through and we sign them individually, but I think we're supposed to vote on it. Did anyone else pick that up?
There actually is a whole, there are additional model policies from the league
Yeah,
that I hadn't gotten into, but there are some that specifically talk about orders and things like that.
well, so if you look under, I'm on 1B, budget administration, the first paragraph, the select board administers the town budget through its authority to sign orders for payment of town funds. To approve orders, the select board must, by a majority of the total number of members of the board, vote to authorize the treasurer to disperse money. In order to carry out this responsibility, we must have timely and accurate information about the status of the town's finances. But that sounds to me like we should probably be voting on those things at every meeting.
Doesn't hurt. I mean,
Doesn't hurt.
effectively, we were doing that by signing them, but we
Yeah.
certainly could add it to the order of business.
That has come up before about
I think it has.
voting on that. Yeah.
I think
So,
it has.
so actually, we shouldn't sign those until after the meeting starts. And it
Correct.
would be like doing the minutes
Separate, yep.
and everything, if that's what that reads.
Would you like me to grab the policy on approval of orders and see if that's something that would help?
Well,
I think
this
we ought
is
to just
pretty-
make that change anyway, but
Yeah, I think we should just, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the orders presented by the clerk, other than that one that we're holding on.
Yeah. Let's
The
see.
radios.
well, we've approved. Let me make a motion to
Okay.
approve the orders, including the one that was flagged for the radios, but with advice to Kari to hold on making the payment until the radios are installed.
We've authorized payment, but not.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0, it carries. Okay, so Bill, if you could add that to our agenda, we'll do this every
No problem.
meeting. Thank you. Okay, so,
Couple other items on this one.
Oh, sure.
If you're ready for them.
Yeah.
okay,
Do you have
yep,
more? Or-
no, go ahead.
So under budget development and approval, second sentence reads, the select board will avoid proposing annual budgets that overestimate revenues. And I think we ought to say, or underestimate, because we have this issue with the 1% tax. Where, the point being, we ought to make good faith estimates of revenues.
Why don't we say that?
So yeah, we could just reword it to say,
Well,
Over or on that or over.
we
or
could say the
underestimate?
select board will approve budgets with good faith estimates of revenues. Instead of using over or under. But,
Okay.
On the second page. So because I'm weird when I see a statute, I tend to look it up.
it's the lawyer.
It's a lawyer thing. Because I was wondering, well, what's this Title 19 about? Well, it's about town highways. But
Okay.
that section 312 was repealed in 2022. So VLCT is not up to date. So I'm
Oh.
guessing there's another statute somewhere that covers whatever issue they intended to cover here.
Why don't we just put a period
I don't
after
know where it
funds
is.
and take out including the including 19 VSA 312.
And I did read 1523 as well, and I don't know if anybody knows what the hell that means, so let's hopefully just never.
You know, one of the things that
Encounter that.
we haven't done
Yeah,
is do, transfers between line items.
that's true. We have
We
not.
do not do that. We allow items, line items to be overextended. Actually deficit spent in order to keep a better record of the actual costs of specific things and not overspend the entire budget. We've done this for rec, fire,
Mhm.
police. We do it
Police.
for whatever. So if Eddie needs additional money in his equipment fund, and we've authorized him to spend that, but don't overspend the entire budget. Because if you start moving money within line items, you lose the accuracy of what you need in that line item. So whether we do it or not, I mean, this allows you to do it, but we haven't done that as a policy or even.
Transfers between.
Yeah.
So that's
So-
if we did them, we would have to do a majority vote.
So you think that the way it's written now, it's
fine.
to do what we've been
It
doing?
gives us gives a select
option.
board the option to do that. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't give a clear picture of the expenditure for a particular line item in a particular budget.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect though that the purpose, like the concept behind this paragraph is for us to record the reasoning of why we think, in this case, we could overspend a line because we have, say, enough money available elsewhere because we're
Within that
underspending something
budget,
else.
right, so you can do that.
So, I guess maybe the fundamental question is, do we have to vote to authorize overspending a line?
We do, and we have,
We have,
we
so
do that. We
so
we have
maybe we just need
authorized,
to-
yes,
maybe we ought to reword that to say
we have authorized.
overspending a line will require.
So traditionally, it's been in a particular department. So
Yes.
like rec to rec, fire, so like so this could give an option if you say we need to move money from rec to police. This is
Complicate this even more for Karen.
right, but
I think she. No on that.
or from police to fire. But
Let's not go down that.
we
rabbit hole.
don't, you're right, but when we do that, it's typically within that budget, department budget, we don't.
Right.
We've never
And-
gone outside those
In
lines, so
a recent,
that would be the,
recent example is Chris wanted to buy the meters for the fire department. And we authorized him to buy those. Use and overspend his new equipment line because he had money somewhere else within his budget.
Yeah,
And we voted to do that. So,
Yes.
so we do vote
we do vote.
to allow a department to spend more money within a specific line. But I don't think we want to go down this rabbit hole of changing money from
No.
oh, no, I agree.
department to department.
No, I agree.
No.
But that may be like, if there's towns that don't break them out like we do, it's just, you have a budget,
Yeah.
like that may be.
Well, I
part
mean,
of
we
that.
kind of do because we've got the transfer station as part of general. We've got the listers as part of general,
Planning
but we
commission,
pretty
right,
much
your
So
kept
planning
them
commission,
within
those
there.
Constables,
particular
we have,
ones,
Yeah,
they're, if there is an overture for some reason, the
Yeah.
general will kind of absorb that, but they are just, they're sub departments within the general.
Right.
But a long time
Well, like
ago, I had
the
a town clerk treasurer tell me that the budgets are just a guideline. He said that you don't
You know,
have to stick
I've
to.
heard other people
but-
say that.
And
to
I
me.
always thought,
I mean,
well,
I think-
it's to that effect that if you have 250,000 to spend within a department, as long as you don't overspend that 250 in a fiscal year, you're managing your resources properly.
within.
And we kind
What
of,
the voters have voted.
right, they have allowed this department to have this amount of money. It's very difficult to sit down in October, November to figure out what a department's going to use starting the next July 1st. So I think that's why our budgets are usually pretty tight and pretty well organized. And then, there's always some,
So, but I was looking at the line item transfers, the second half of it, which kind of imposes on Kari what is it called? A budget closing plan, which we haven't done formally, but we have informally, like, for example, Kurt's motion last year about the police not creating a surplus and using, yeah.
Right.
We
We
sort
were
of did that and we voted on it. We put it on the record, but this would impose on Kari coming up with a budget closing plan. And I'm not sure we want to do that. And I'm not sure she wants to do that. So
So do we just axe that whole section? Because
I
it seems
kind
like
of
none of
would.
it's working for us.
Yeah.
We just put an X in that.
yeah, approval of the budget. Yeah.
Because none of it seems to be fitting us.
Well, the whole section or just the section after the,
Gary, do you have an
I'm
opinion
thinking
on
the
this?
whole
yeah.
section.
You might want to read it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want that last part.
Okay. All
Do
right.
you care about
Yeah,
any
see,
other
that's a
section?
closing plan that shows transferring items between lines.
I mean, we don't really do line item transfers.
No.
And I'd
Well,
prefer
you-
not to
Right,
because
it doesn't give you a true picture of what the budget, what that department needs within a specific line.
yeah.
Agreed.
It's
Agreed.
Another thing we got track.
Right.
Yeah, really.
No more.
So, yeah, you're saying, all right,
Yeah.
we had 25,000 in new equipment within this department and they were short, so we took 5,000 out of building maintenance because they didn't use it, so we spent 30,000, but it doesn't show a deficit. So that you don't know that the 25 wasn't enough.
That's right.
And if you show the
We sort-
deficit,
well,
yeah.
we
So
sort
when,
of do, actually, but
but the way we do it is when a department head is building their new budget and they
Yeah.
look at, well, and I use new equipment because that's the most volatile. Or equipment repairs. Those are two that you cannot always plan on. So if in the fire department, Chris has 30,000 for equipment maintenance and something goes to heck and he spends 35 or 40, when he's doing his next budget, he can look at that and say, okay, I needed a little more there, so I can tweak this a little and you have a much clearer picture if you just don't transfer funds.
we sort of did it not waiting till the end of the year or toward the budget in the police one, when we had to up the amount of money paid to the new school resource officer.
Right.
And we went through the various lines that had unspent money because it was
And
deferred,
we had it there.
and we had it there.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that budget, and that's the budget we're working in right now.
yes,
We did not anticipate the situation we found ourselves in, but the budget had enough
sufficient funds to
funds in
cover.
it to do it. And we, yeah, and we don't want to do, and that was with the police, we didn't want to take and supplement that budget. And then at the end of the year, have too much in there and then Ed loses that money, supplementing with hotel money. So you have to be careful how you do that stuff. But I think we've always been on top of that.
Okay, so I still hear that we want Andrew's input. Kari would like to review this. I've made some inked in changes, but shall we defer these for a vote until next week or
With-
2 weeks from now? Is that okay with folks?
Sure.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
If you have the changes, you can put them in the green folder if you want to.
I mean, how would the balanced budget policy is, of course, we balance the budget,
I mean, Yeah.
yeah,
I think what they're trying to avoid is we don't want to
oh,
tax folks more than what we actually plan on spending.
I,
And I think we do that
right, I think we do that pretty well. I was just remembering our church budget in that year that we, never mind. Okay, I
We don't
can.
do faith-based budgeting in the town.
Faith-based budgeting is what it's called. It's like, the money will come in somehow. Okay.
Did I miss something?
So public records request. And was this in our packet or held over from last year?
This is a holdover.
Yeah, this is.
All right, I'm not sure that I have it. So what's your pleasure on?
On page 4, there are some decisions that need to be made. So there's not a final draft for signature tonight, because
Okay.
you decide on,
need-
I had a couple of comments before that part.
Okay.
And one would be right in the middle of the first page, applicability, where this says this only applies to town clerk and treasurer. You know, the act applies to more than that, so I'm not sure why we would be restricting this. The act speaks in terms of departments, which, or agencies, I guess, which is not entirely helpful, but you know, I point out there can be multiple different agency heads, if you will, given a particular situation. So there may be, you know, records that are public records that maybe Bill is the custodian of, or somebody else.
Does this be like, fire reports or police reports?
Yeah.
Are these a public
Yeah.
record?
yes.
Yeah.
And the police department gets those requests regularly.
Yes.
So is there any reason why this policy wouldn't apply to every department of the town?
So this, I don't know, does this just apply to the records from the clerk and treasurer and not the other departments?
That's what it says right now. on
Yes,
this
that's what,
figure.
yeah.
That's why I'm questioning.
It should be for every department,
I think so.
all public record.
This is.
I mean, emails, everything's all public record.
Mhm.
There a pay scale on
There,
That's
there
the
is-
next thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is a thing for cost, yep.
Well, it says we can adopt our own schedule or we use this Secretary of State's schedule. And I think probably we ought to say what we're gonna do and I would attach it and have it with that written form, the request form.
Yep.
We'll know right up front what it's gonna be.
Yep.
I've never seen Secretary of State's schedule, so I don't know.
Pretty extensive. I mean, it covers like,
Expensive.
well, but it covers like, the photo vault time, like all that, there's a whole schedule for all that stuff, so.
So Kari, don't you have the Secretary of State's schedule posted in your office?
The elections calendar, like that
No,
whole big thing.
No, this is the, how much, when people come in to get a public record, how much they need to pay for it.
Oh yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah, so Kari's already got some of the stuff posted.
The fees, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think we should use the Secretary of State's one, because then, you know, we can just stay current with it.
No.
Right.
Yeah,
We've adopted fee schedules for other things to follow, so that makes it just easier to.
okay. And I think the public records request, whatever, should apply to all departments. I think you're right about that.
Okay.
What
And
Do you want to delete that paragraph then? Just that little section?
do you think, Matt? I don't have it in front of me, so I'm gonna.
There is a copy of that in the green folder.
Avoid the damn.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's not. I just told you there's not. Just told you there's not, because it's not in it.
Yeah, I think we can delete that paragraph.
Okay,
Okay,
that makes sense.
And then, I mean, do we need to, should we be specifying in here that we are adopting the Secretary of State's schedule or? just wanna leave it?
is there a fee
Or-
place? Yeah, we should have one sentence just saying that.
Charges,
Right now it says the charge will be as adopted by us under a statute that I did not read. Or uniform schedule. And so if we're using the uniform schedule, why don't we just say that's what we're doing?
yeah, that makes sense. So, so the
A while back, a long time ago, we asked about like action reports. We get a lot of requests for them. And we have, I'm pretty sure our fee is $42 for an accident report, which I think is different than schedule that the Secretary of State has. And we reached out to other departments and used what they did in order to do it.
Okay,
Okay, well, that may change what I just said then.
but that's the only charge that's different.
Anytime we do a report, I mean, I think we looked at it as, on the average, we'll spend at least 2 hours in an accident report. You're paying us 2 hours to investigate an accident for an insurance company. And I think we charge $42 for that right there. Pictures and photographs are extra.
So that was just decided by the department.
I want to say at the time it was when the police department was fairly new. Not that we're not old now, but we went to you guys and we looked at other departments, and this is the policy we adopted for the pay fee for an accident.
But did the select board adopt it, or did the department just do
It
it?
was so long ago, I think they approved it at the time.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I ask is just because the language in here right now says the select board would determine it and does cite a statute, which maybe means we're supposed to. So make sure that whatever we're doing matches what we say we're doing.
So do we separate out police reports?
Except that
It's a public record request, but it's a different type of.
we will follow the Secretary of State's schedule, except
Except where
that
otherwise
accident
said.
reports from our police department.
Or except as otherwise determined by the select board. That leaves it open to anything that we need to
Sometimes
change.
when people request investigations, we block out all the names.
Okay,
And I mean, sometimes we'll spend hours and hours on these cases, so it didn't seem fair just to hand them out.
Right.
$2 a page to the whoever requested.
all right.
They got that thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think the Secretary of State's pays.
There's a charge per copy. It's a small charge, but it's charge per copy for black and white, separately for photo. And then it's a per minute charge for staff time to reproduce records.
Of 30
Per
minutes.
minute.
To
For the
reproduce
first
the
30 minutes.
records.
Sometimes we
Right.
get those
Oh,
people
that's not
come
what
in
this
and
says.
Want to cause work. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still right.
Yeah.
They say, I want a copy of.
Didn't we have one of those and we talked about it
We did,
and we got them to narrow the request?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
But this,
I think
this,
that gentleman is now dead.
Well,
There was one particular person who was famous for doing this and wanting thousands of pages of.
yeah, well, we just saved his estate some money then. Okay.
so this right now says that time is only charged if it exceeds 30 minutes.
Oh,
Is there a timeline on it too, when they can get it?
there is. I think it's what, 5 business days?
It's
Sometimes that's some.
Or some extensions on it.
One records clerk. It's not even, I have to hire somebody else or one of us to come in just to help her do
But
it.
I think that's state law. I
Yeah.
don't think that's any,
Yeah, I think this was all parodying state law, but
Yeah.
what was odd about it this day and age is, I mean, I think it says something like, it's 5 days or whatever, unless if there's a reason for you need an extension, you can notify them and you get an extra. Well, Jesus, you mail them a notice, by the time they get it, the time's expired anyway. So, I mean, it's a practical matter. I'm not sure what some of this really means, but
are we at a point where we need to put it on next meeting's agenda because there are some unanswered questions?
Yeah, and Ed, could you bring our next meeting, could you just bring back like what your pay fee, your fees are, just so we know what we're working with?
So, public
And there are
records.
those, a few questions on the third or fourth page about, you just need to decide
The highlighted
which way you
stuff.
want to go. Yeah, the highlighted sections.
yeah, and I had a note on the first one that, that this is asking us to decide whether the custodian will or will not provide a copy of public record in a non-standard format. And then it gives examples. To me, it seems like the custodian really needs to have the discretion. It's on a case-by-case basis what they're being asked to do and whether that's appropriate or, get a good use of time. To me, it doesn't make sense to say either will or will not. It just depends on how practical it is. I don't know if We can do
I
that.
there, I mean, there's the standards are like the normal, typically just physical sizes. So I think if somebody's
Yeah.
requesting something that's just outside that norm, it's like, you know, oh, I want a plat produced on 24 by 36 paper. We can't do that. Like we don't have the capability to do that. So I think that's maybe in that respect is like, we won't because we just can't.
And then the next one is about creation of public records when one doesn't exist, but you don't
That
give us
was
an
interesting.
example here of what that means, like
Yeah.
how that would
Well,
come
Create a
up.
public record that doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
I'd rather like interesting topic, but I would say we will not provide one that does not exist because it does not.
That would be my inclination.
Yeah.
I guess
that seems like a
I'm
pretty.
curious
Rights
to
yourself.
know if the league has an example of how that might come up where it might be appropriate to do so. I mean, there may be something where it's not obvious. Obviously, you're not, you know,
Unless they're getting into forging stuff, I guess, if that's
I don't
what
know.
that's trying to cover.
If we say we won't do it, then we're gonna end the conversation. So
yeah.
it was interesting. I had the same kind of question about that.
So what's your pleasure with this, the public records request policy?
Bring it back next meeting.
Okay.
Way I can go to bed.
Just say Bill is
Yeah.
nitpicking
Yeah, if
thing
you'd like.
for again lawyers anytime
not
it says
embarrassed.
Superior
I've been
Court,
up
it
since
should say
2.
civil division of.
Okay. I copied that. Most of this came directly from theirs, and I just built it up
it's
like,
probably
but
old.
I will add that too.
Right. So we've got a couple of other things to go through.
And I
Yeah.
forgot to put on your desk earlier. These are the.
Oh,
Minutes I do.
Oh, okay.
I was looking, I keep looking and I
You weren't
can't.
gonna
Oh,
find
there
them.
they
Yeah,
are.
no, I said
Okay.
they're on your desk, and then yeah, then there they are.
So we're still on
Yep.
Bill's report.
Yeah.
All right.
So, on your desks, that's everything from the, one more thing in the packet.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
there is.
The Child Abuse Prevention Month is April 1st. This is their request for donations and for which they provide pinwheels. My recommendation is if we want to give them a donation, please do so, but please, they can keep the pinwheels. We
I
still
think we
have
have
some.
pinwheels left from the last time.
We have pinwheels left from.
So I think we should send a donation in.
Yes.
Where does I know we had one of these before, so remind me, where does the money come from if we do a donation like that?
I think,
miscellaneous
is it
line.
Select Board miscellaneous?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
miscellaneous line, yeah.
And we have plenty on there.
This also is for like flowers or fruit baskets
Yes.
for, people who are sick or, yeah. Is there a motion?
Can't remember what we used to give them.
$100. I think. Yes. Normally they say they're selling pinwheels for $1 each. We recommend purchasing 100. I bet you do.
Send a donation, you guys can sell the pinwheel
We're
somewhere
not
else.
gonna sell them.
I move that we donate $100 to the child abuse prevention.
Second.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, I used to do some of that in my past life. All in favor of the donation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
4-0.
I'll take care of that. On your desk is a permit request from the Hubbards to renew their certification as a salvage yard. Mary, you have the original
I
there
have
as a
the
sticker on the
original.
side of it, and there
And
is
there's
a
plenty of signature
place for
lines.
everyone to sign.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. This is a 5-year thing. Permit.
5 years for the salvage area.
This is just
Yeah.
extending the approval.
Yes.
for what
Yeah,
this
they
is.
do have this.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 4-0. Sign in.
Send that around. I gave the scholarship committee their forms from last year for them to review and take a look and see if they want to make any updates before we send them out into the world if they are approved at town meeting day. Something we've talked about with updating the forms, we haven't gotten around to it, but they have their forms if they want to make some changes, and then there might be some small ones. Town reports are largely should be in homes, and they are here. So they started arriving over the weekend, and we have 2 copies here available if somebody needs an extra one or two. But they are ready. One of the things that Teresa had brought up during discussions was the labor posters for the departments.
Yes.
And there was a company she had recommended, and I have procured them. And some departments have already picked them up, but in their mailboxes, if they have not already, are a copy for every department, and they're out in the hallway here as well. And this company will send us updates as they are done. So if the federal changes or the Vermont changes, they will proactively send them to us, which is good.
Very helpful.
Very, very
How
helpful.
much did it cost?
It was about 300.
Okay.
And I got 7 sets.
Okay.
So it's here, both fire stations, the police department, highway department, the highway department, transfer station, and the pool. So they got
So other, things that we forget that we need to do, posting notices to employees and fair labor standards and all of that good stuff.
so there's two posters. One's a federal, one's a Vermont. So it's all inclusive, which was very nice. So they're in the hallway out there if anybody wants to take a look at them. And I think that is. Oh, Dave had mentioned we've gotten I got a phone call from someone from Weston and Sampson who was contracted by Fire District 5 about their well. And their short version of their request was, what would the town think about running a municipal water line from the city up to Fire District 5's well house?
That's not a great question. Remind me which one's 5 again?
Your neighbors to the west.
Hitzel
Terrace.
Oh.
Well, funny they should ask.
It is. So we talked about 45 minutes, and basically I said his scope was contracted by them. They have higher PFAS levels. No, they're not EPA warning levels, but they are at state warning levels. So they need to either put in a mitigation system or change their water source.
That's weird because we don't, but once that hits, it's like game over.
Yeah. So their recommendation for cost and for maintenance is to connect to the city.
Yep.
This gentleman has a conversation with the city already. So there's some things that have started happening. And I said, I will I tell you this conversation, we've already had this conversation. So we kind of expected this to be coming, but that we would look at more of a global solution for the whole neighborhood and not just be like, let's fix this one. If we're going to put up water up there, we're probably interested in putting water all over. So he is going to come to a board meeting, and I strongly suggested bringing people from the fire district along with him, probably in April.
Okay.
So they'll have a thing, but they're looking at different possibilities for water line routes. There's different options there, and what they're going to do. So
we need to facilitate communication on this with District 6 Prudential Board, but also probably with the city, because you got different people now that are talking to the city. The city's got a committee that's talking.
So when I talked to him, he said he couldn't really deal with any other ones because he was contracted by the fire district for this project.
Sorry, who is he?
He was from Weston and Sampson, the engineering firm in Burlington.
So he's been asked to do what exactly?
Fix their problem.
There's only one fix.
There's 2 fixes. They can put in a treatment system, but the long-term cost of maintenance is extreme for the size of the system they have.
Some of those fire districts up there have already connected to the city, but they've done it on their,
it stops at Killington. It stops at Carmel Place.
Well,
Connor Drive's the only one that comes to the city, right?
Yeah, Connor Drive.
But that's over on Gleason
That's
Road.
over on the other side.
Right, but I'm just saying
when he had said, he talked with the city says, yep, and we want to run a water line from Gleason Road, downtown Land Road, and down Killington Avenue. I'm like, well, that's a whole different conversation altogether, because that's a
yeah, they're trying to loop something up there.
It would be a loop, absolutely, which
that's what
makes
they're trying to
sense,
do.
but that's
right.
So,
Well, if this,
That covers
Yeah.
a bunch of it covers, because there are Mendon neighborhoods up there that
Yes.
could hook onto that.
Yes.
There's Eastridge.
They've got a
all them.
problem on Gleason
So-
Line, Gleason Road with that being a dead end.
yep.
right,
Yeah,
And they got a problem on Grandview, I think, as well. And so if they
they're
can
trying to
loop
make a
that whole
loop and
thing,
get it,
It
all
would
of
be.
those neighborhoods could hook
and
on.
they're getting almost to the reservoir level. You know,
What you gotta understand is if the city runs a line, it's a city line and we
So
don't
that
get
was a
one.
topic that came up too. He's like, well, the city talked about, owning and maintaining it. I'm like, that's probably not going to be a thing.
Yeah.
What he did say though is because there is a PFAS contamination, there is a 100% loan forgiveness plan for this, for a portion of this too. So
boy, we were trying to get that
I
5
said,
years
I
ago.
said, you had us at 100% loan forgiveness. Like,
And that's what
so
was suggested to me by some city folks was that the town might have a better opportunity of getting into that. There might be more money available for us if we build it. That would be
Yeah,
100% forgivable
and-
because they've already come, if you will, forgive the pun, to that well more than
Oh.
once.
but that goes back to what Robert Clark had come to us
Yes,
about this
yeah.
and said that there were some programs like this. So so I said, I'm happy to get this from you. I said, we have had this conversation. This is not going to be a shock to anybody that you want to do this. Their timeline may be a little more accelerated than
Yeah.
we're prepared for, but in the same respect, maybe it's not. So their plan, the best case scenario for them is to run a water line to their pump house and use their existing distribution to go out from there. They would put a storage tank there and use their existing pumps for the pressure because the pressure would be nothing up there. I mean, it's not gonna be good. So,
but that may
but I
be,
said, we'd want to talk about,
that may be because there's multiple fire districts almost in the same predicament.
Yeah.
It might be time that they start talking to each other and get some kind of a unified plan
Hmm.
because if the city's gonna, or somebody's gonna run a water main, let's make sure it's the right size.
right. So I did tell him, I said,
Adequate
we're
to-
going to be the topic of hydrants will probably come up. And he's like, that's outside the scope of this. I'm like, I understand, but that's going to come up.
But-
Like it's still going to come up. So this is, so so we don't know their timeline.
My
About,
concern now is they're gonna say, we're gonna build an emergency pump house to come up to a little bit over the line from the city coming uphill. They're gonna do their project and then everyone else will be left. And then when we want to do the rest of it, they're gonna say, well, we already did ours.
right. So it's,
Better
so,
fix it.
but he and I talked about like the routes, where there's water mains and there was a lot of discussion about that. And then going up to Victoria, it's not that far to go in a straight line from where they are in Hitzel to up to Victoria to where that is. So I said if this may be something we want to look at as a larger scale, maybe in stages, but we want to plan for that larger scale to happen no matter what. So it was a very good conversation. He thanked, I spent quite a while on the phone with him. So he is planning to come to a meeting probably in April.
So do we then take the opportunity to bring in other affected water districts?
Well, I mean, this is a much larger
yes, I
scale
know
than,
he's constrained because he's got one
Right.
client, but
so this is kind of like the post road thing, is we had
Yeah.
one house that needed it, so we extended it to the ones we could. So
Right.
if we're gonna do this, let's look at the need for the area and say, okay, so if the entire north side of Killington Avenue wants to connect, what do we need? Like, I mean, that's the reality of where this is gonna go, is that, I mean, we've had, that was where that kind of that excavation permit thing came up, is because we had a contractor digging up all over on that side of the development for fixing connections. I mean, it's there's been a lot of maintenance. to do.
Some of that
Their
infrastructure up there is
may be
getting old.
worse over there. I know.
Right. I
Our
don't know.
side, our infrastructure is.
I don't know.
I think
The
his is
most
probably-
efficient way for us to do this is for them to keep their fire districts and we supply the fire district.
Yeah.
We put a meter in their pump house. We sell the fire district water and you let the fire district deal with their distribution network and their billing.
so
our-
what's our part? We get the,
We
we get
get,
the pipe? We
No,
build the, no?
We sell them water.
where do we get the water from?
We buy it from
We're
the
buying
city.
it from the city, and we're
Okay.
getting our O and M on
That way
top.
we put the main in and we get the O and M.
Okay, so yes, we do,
We're
we
getting
do
the
put the
O&M
main in.
on.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we have control. The
But-
town has control over those mains within the town's boundaries.
Mostly, we're not taking over all this random 2-inch copper line that's
Oh, yeah.
spaghettied everywhere. That's brittle and wants to break.
Yeah,
And
we just, the
And
the
how-
town could take over the
Mains.
the wells.
Yeah.
So to speak. Most of those are all undrilled wells, which are problematic. So the town would take over the supply going from drilled wells to a water main supplied by the water from the city.
Yeah, I know the
And-
issue for Victoria and Sunset is we have good infrastructure. So you can, my understanding is, hook on basically different neighborhoods and you're good to go. But part of the long-term issue with these fire districts is you haven't got the volunteers that are willing and able to put in the time.
Absolutely.
Part of the motivation to get out of the water business is to get out of the water business.
yeah, but we have
absolutely.
Rather
we
have,
have to take that in steps, because if we start running water mains in neighborhoods, NFPA is going to require us to run 8-inch mains
You gotta be at
with hydrants.
8-inch mains.
So
Wow.
none of your infrastructure is any good to the town.
it depends on where you are. I think, and I mean, we haven't got very far with these conversations, but I think our understanding was the city thought that ours was fine as is.
Yeah, I don't know where
It may
the
not be the case everywhere.
I don't know where the requirements and the cutoff are. Like we're good on Post Road. We have a 2-inch line up through there with no hydrants, but I don't know. I haven't read through NFPA to figure out where that cutoff is. I assume it has something to do with households.
We have hydrant on
When we did the Center Rutland Station,
You do?
we were gonna hook onto the water main off of
That's
Simons
probably a
Avenue.
blow off.
And we couldn't because it's a 6-inch main.
Yeah.
And that's why we ended up running the 8-inch main down Route 4 to the front of the station. Cause the Center Rutland Fire District had water on one side of the bridge. So they extended it down, we hooked on, and the town paid for that to the station, because you can't put, if you put a 6-inch main in the ground, it doesn't meet the NFPA requirements.
You have to have 8-inch
You have to
mains.
put 8-inch mains in the ground, and I don't think anybody will put, unless, because once you put the mains in the ground, they're gonna be looking for fire protection. And then you gotta go to the 8-inch.
So what do we do with this? Just wait and
There's-
see what
there's-
comes up
yeah.
at the April meeting?
Yeah.
There's nothing
Alright.
to do at the moment. There's no
Okay.
formal requests. There's no, this was more of an exploratory conversation. So,
Yeah,
but it was very interesting
Things
and
that
it
you
was,
need to do
yeah.
in
Is
your development.
get the
and your
contact
people, is
information.
they need to start talking together
Yeah,
and share because the
They
idea,
tried. In the past, Hitzel wasn't interested. Well, now they have a problem, so now
Right.
they're interested.
right? So everybody, in this,
But they didn't-
well,
they didn't
eventually that
contact
problem,
us.
your problem is something different, right?
Well, ultimately, it's the same problem, different variations of the same thing,
Problem.
which is the water source is at risk.
Right.
If you lose your water, if you lose your source,
And I think a lot of those
Yeah.
fire districts were set up for a certain number of residents
Mhm.
and they've exceeded those.
Mhm.
I think the development is more than what they initially started and it just went south.
but that wouldn't be the case for ours. I don't, and I don't think either of those, because there haven't been.
Yeah.
but there-
But the rules keep changing for you guys, and that's the problem.
Mm.
When they put the fire districts in, the rules for water were different than the rules that keep coming out now. And for you guys to try to meet those rules
There
gets
were a lot of
harder. The
regulations, yeah.
regulations keep getting harder and harder and harder to,
That was a big part of Fire District 1.
right.
That was their decision. So.
all right, so.
And
let's see
if
what
I might
happens.
just add something real quick.
Oh,
um,
yeah, hey, Dave.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
If they've got PFOAs, it's in the ground. It's not segregated to just Hitzel Terrace or Victoria. It's in there. If you don't have it now, you will have it. It's coming.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised, because last I heard not long ago, Victoria wasn't near the standard. So if they have it, then maybe our next test will be bad too. And then you're SOL at that point. I mean,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do. I mean, drilling, even if your well failed and you drill a new one, it's not gonna do anything for you.
Right.
So, and so the state is really telling us your only option is to connect to the city. You have to go talk to the city. Doesn't matter what solution we propose, their answer is talk to the city.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot in our neighborhood that's got water supply separate from the existing well that apparently is more, it may have more capacity than the existing well. And we said, can we hook onto that? No. Can we hook onto it as a backup? No. You have to wait until it fails and then maybe we'll let you drill to it. I mean, it's just, they're shutting down every possibility. They just say, talk to the city. So
Yeah, the thing is, they need to talk to the town because it's gonna be our water lines, our water mains, our O&M.
Yeah.
And it's city water, but it's gonna be our infrastructure. So you have to approach that the right way. Cause when it comes to the point where the city comes to us and they wanna put their water mains under our roads, then we get back into a Carmel place mess.
And all the city mains run through Northwood.
Yeah.
And they're all,
Yeah,
you know, all those
that's right.
mains run down through there.
Yeah.
And we have no say in them. So we
Okay.
avoid those kind of
Well,
things.
that'll be something to look forward to. April. All right. We still need to do the building committee report. Do we have anything else with you?
That was everything.
I will mention that we did all receive a copy of an email from Jim Hall concerning his recommendations. I think it's one of those where we receive it on record. Frankly, it deals with the appropriations that are already printed on the ballot, so I don't think it's really
Nothing we can do. about it.
nothing we can do at this point. Longer range, I don't know, longer range, I suppose we could revisit the policy on appropriations. I think that's what he had requested in the past, but. Okay, so received on record the email from Jim Hall. All right, Building Technology Committee met. What have we got?
So Kurt and I and Bill met as a building committee on Friday. We're discuss numerous things. I guess we'll start with item one is now that the PD has moved out of their office, that is a larger office. And so Bill's request would be that he could move into that office. There's a little upgrade work, replace the carpet and some painting and a little bit of stuff to do in there. His office would be transitioned to basically not really, well, I guess it would be supplies. A lot of the building, cleaning supplies and different supplies for this building are scattered in different places in the attic and whatever. So that room would be.
There's some out here.
Yeah, some of it's out here. So we, paper, a lot of the stuff that runs this floor of this building could be stored in there in one place. It could also be, that office could be sort of a, the refrigerator, microwave that are in Kari's office could be moved into where Bill is. And so, the cost of the replacing the carpet, cause it's pretty worn, to match whatever else is here is about $1,850. And then the painting would run about $800. So we were looking about $2,600 to upgrade that, old police office into an office for the town administrator. And one of the advantages of that is the linking door. I kind of like, that door between the two offices would be together. And that makes it kind of, I don't know if it's more secure, but it's a good conduit for moving stuff back and forth. Kurt and I thought that was a good idea. So
Is there anyone else I've heard about 4 different folks who have their eye on that office.
No one said anything about it.
nobody's
but they-
approached either one of us. No.
I think Marty at one point was eyeing it.
Marty's looking for a space. Yes.
Okay.
it's a
And
whole new building.
I know, he's got a building. What
Don't
is
tell
it?
him that.
Give him a put a table in that kitchen. That's
Yeah.
the best part
So
of it.
he and I have talked about that, and I think we have some plans, some things that we can work out to use the space that we have. He doesn't need like a full-time space, but if there's something he needs a space to work in, which we can absolutely accommodate,
Mhm.
that
And
won't be a problem.
We did, and that would be one of the things that Bill's old office could be used like a conference room. So
Okay.
if Marty had
Because the
just,
other group is the planning commission, who really, they borrow our room fine
right,
but I don't know, they probably, you would know better. They have some need for storage, I would assume.
Very, their biggest storage need is already in my filing cabinets.
All right.
It's all the subdivision records. That's everything else they do is.
Okay, and the listers wanted to make sure they had a place to have lunch, and you just mentioned
That would
moving
be
the
probably part of that.
table
That,
and,
that would be a multi-purpose
Yep.
little room.
That would be very easy to set up like that, but so we talked about moving all, like, so in the attic stairway is all the cleaning supplies, but it's always difficult to get in there. So this would move a lot of the stuff that's just kind of homeless right now into a single area.
okay, so what I'm getting at, if we do a multi-purpose room for your old office, which is, it was really handy tonight because this room was occupied to be able to go into a separate space in there and have a small committee meeting.
Right.
So I want to keep that ability if we can
Yep.
at all.
And I
Absolutely.
think
And
we can.
Yeah.
So
it-
cleaning supplies tucked in a corner won't do it for me. They have to be a place where cleaning
We
supplies
have a cabinet
live.
for them.
No,
to
they'll
go
be in
in.
a cabinet. They aren't going to be just
A closed cabinet.
haphazardly piled.
Okay.
Oh, no.
It's not going to
There's
look
a-
like.
we have a closed cabinet for them to go into, so.
Yeah. yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And-
Oh, you
and-
guys have already, you've already got it.
Well, we've talked about it and the needs and what needs to be there and what's available. So
Will
Yeah.
your whole desk set up, fit in there?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. It can morph. Yes, it can move
Okay.
around. So.
Okay,
yes.
what are you gonna use the closet for?
I don't know. That was where the safe was, but now the safe's
I know.
gone. So
The safe is still there.
no, it's gone.
it's gone.
Oh,
How was
did-
that done?
Okay,
It was done. There was apparently a clandestine endeavor, and it disappeared over the weekend. So.
right.
Town office was broke into. and safe was
Police
all-
aren't.
I don't think that-
walking out.
Also go look for it.
Yeah.
He alerted the police and they
Yeah. So
just
they
shrugged.
they're looking into it. Yeah. No, the safe's gone. They got it out. So.
Okay, good.
So anyway,
All
so
right, so you recommend,
yeah, we would recommend it's a total of approximately $2,662 for the carpet and painting to redo that room. Carpet King for the carpet and Racines to do the painting, and we purchased the paint ourselves through Sherwin-Williams.
all right, 26 what?
It's 2650.
Oh, 2650.
Yep.
Well, 2650 is for the new carpet.
No.
The carpet is 1850
1850.
from the Carpet King.
Am I looking at the right
Well,
thing?
it's a line above it where it says Carpet King
Gotcha,
1850.
okay, so
And then,
that,
and then the painting is the
Painting
couple
labor is
lines down.
500.
Yep.
The painting
500.
supplies. So we have a state contract pricing through Sherwin-Williams.
Oh,
So-
nice, okay.
We've done this before where the vendor buys the paint, they go get it, and then we get billed for it.
Who did the painting out in the hallway that had to be repainted?
This is the one that fixed it.
Okay,
These are
we're
people
sure
that-
about that.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we made sure.
It
we-
was,
All right,
boy, I
good.
forgot, I don't
Forgot
know
who
who
that
it
other
was.
vice committee
Yeah,
was.
but that was a while ago. The paint that it was all peeling off.
Yes,
Yes, no, this is the one that fixed it for us.
okay.
So
So
we'd like,
2650, and is that a motion from the committee?
yes,
Second.
Motion's made and seconded, but the bigger thing is Bill gets a new office, right?
That's it. That's all the work that needs to be done to
Yeah.
accomplish that.
No, then we got to work on his office. after
then
he
his,
moves
there's
out.
nothing to be done in there
No.
for upgrades other than moving equipment.
Just
and
moving,
move stuff
yeah,
around.
moving things around, yeah.
Yeah, but there should be no,
We have like the table we use in there, we can use that until we decide we want to get something else for it, but that's easy to put up in there, so.
And you have the money in the.
yes, there's,
Okay.
I can start with that portion of it if you want. There is, approximately $26,000
Yep.
in the building maintenance for this building. So all of these endeavors that we're going to do are going to come from that amount of money.
All right, so motion's made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor of spending 2650 to upgrade the old police room and move Bill into it, please say aye. Aye, motion carries.
I
And-
can make the closet Marty's office.
There you go.
Get a nice little sign, his own private little workspace.
I'm not gonna tell him.
I'll sell it to him, it'll be okay.
So
And then, but we also had remarks that should be included in the minutes about the multi-use
Right,
aspect of
right,
the
there will be,
remaining office.
right, that is
Okay.
planned for that room.
Next, building committee.
Yeah, so the next expenditure is another step in the downstairs remodeling and upgrades. So there's an electrical panel and some other equipment that needs to be moved. Rob Stubbins has done just about all the work there and there gave us a quote of 714721 to move that last electrical. I think that's the last electrical
It is the
panel
last one,
that
yes.
has to be moved and upgrade. So we're getting some of the archaic stuff out of the basement, all of it moved into manageable locations to progress.
It's gonna get rid of the sub panel and get all the everything brought back to the main panel.
Is
So
that
this-
the room off the kitchen
Um,
downstairs?
It's, when you walk downstairs, you get downstairs, turn right, you're looking
Yeah.
at the sub panel.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, and so, and this is all,
Kind of gross looking.
Oh,
and it's all in preparation. Once we figure out how we're going to finance the final downstairs
right, yeah.
renovations. We have the plans for downstairs, but the electrical stuff was always the stuff that had to be moved first.
Is Stubbins
the-
on our preferred vendor list?
Yes, yeah, they've done
They've
very,
done a
very,
lot.
they did the whole upgrade to begin with. They
Yeah,
did
they've
an
done everything
amazing
down there.
job.
So
So
we would
the-
recommend that
The
expenditure.
26,000 is the annual budget line,
There was 40,000 in the budget for this building for this year.
26,000 remains for this.
Remains,
So,
right.
I mean, there won't, if we do all of these things, there won't be a whole lot left, so.
There'll be
if
just over
6,000.
6,000 left once we get done.
6,500.
Something
about
bad
60.
happens, is that the line you're going to for?
Basically, the only thing comes out of there is right now is the cleaning. They do here the weekly cleanings
And the lawn mowing.
and the lawn mowing.
That'd be it.
And we should be able to
And
cover
our
that.
exterminator, but that's.
Okay, so is there a motion?
Yep,
from
that's a
building?
recommendation, the
Okay,
71.
714721.
Second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the electrical quote from Stubbins Electric for moving for the electrical upgrade finish work, we hope. Please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries.
And then, so,
More money.
yes, well, you know,
This is fixing another problem, I understand.
so we have the issue with the not specifying the locks for the new fire station as being compatible or the same as what's at town office and the center Rutland station, that part. So what we're proposing is that the 5 electronic locks that are in this building now be upgraded to a newer style. They'll be the exact same locks with the ability for access with a key card, which we can print. So the employees won't have to punch in a code. They can just use their key card. They'll have, so the locks will,
That's like a step backwards, because you forget your key card, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Open
your
it up.
employee,
keypad also.
well, you'll have your ID, but
It's got the code and then it's got a reader on top.
it's got a reader on it. So you just,
So you could do either?
yeah, you can do
All
either.
right, because I will lose my card.
Right, right.
That would
Um,
render. the
So,
building-
so the people that are in and out of here every day, you know, would just have their ID and they could just,
Okay,
it's like that. So in this building, there are 5 electronic door locks. Those 5 locks that are here would be removed and repurposed. 2 would go to the highway for their personnel doors. And 3 would go to the new fire station. Those locks are identical to the locks that are on this building. Well, they would be because they're here, and the 2 at center station.
so these are programmable, so you can put a bunch of individual
Right,
passcodes in it.
and they also track the use of the codes. So you can track who's in and out of the building, their time and date stamped, and the other thing is they have the ability, if I'm right, to be remote edited.
These
That's
will,
a-
yes.
Yes, and so
The ones here as opposed to the ones
So
that
all
you're
of them will
moving.
be.
So the company the company is called Alarm Lock. They have recently updated their back end software to allow it to be a web-based program rather than a local-based program. So right now we have these locks here and at the fire station in Center Rutland. The only way to program the locks is to physically go to that site and log onto a computer at that site. And then there is a now, and that's, there's now a system where we can access it, or I can access it from a computer and update the locks as a whole versus individually at individual sites. So it eliminates the need to have a computer running at a site also to work them.
Right.
So
Do these locks function if the internet goes down?
yes, they do. We
And
only
the
lose
electricity goes off.
they are,
All our
they are,
buildings
No,
are
we have a
generator
they are-
backup.
I know we have a generator.
Battery up.
the locks themselves are battery powered.
Okay.
The only thing we lose the ability to do is to program them.
Okay,
So, but
We've had
it's,
these logs for what, 7-8 years?
it's been
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
Oh, they've
They're
been,
good logs.
yeah.
Yeah,
And we talked about like the problem we had with the inside locks being outside. So these are all outside rated. There won't be any issue with exposure for them.
so there's one here.
Yeah.
Into the old police
There's
room.
front door,
Yeah,
Kari's office,
02,
back
3,
door,
4,
this office,
5,
and the basement.
In the basement.
6. Okay,
Like,
so
gotcha.
this remote programming feature is only gonna be on the new ones that would be
No,
here.
it will work across all of them. We could, this just came out like 6 weeks ago. So the timing was good.
So it's gonna work with these old
It
ones when
will,
they get.
what we have currently is compatible with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about redistributing, so you said 2 would go to highway. Does highway have anything now?
Yes, they do, but they're just a.
Same problem. They all share a code for the
Yeah,
door.
there's,
It's like a Home Depot Schlage type lock. That's
right.
there.
I
Okay.
used to have that code to get
Huh?
into highway for
Right.
some reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's changed. a few
So
times.
each town
After those
employee.
firefighters left, they changed the code again on the door. So
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
So
Yeah.
Don't want them
Say-
back. Yeah. No.
3 for the fire department now again. So they
Yes.
just put some on there, right? But they're just
Yes.
not compatible.
Right, because,
they are
because as
offline.
a
They're,
town,
they're a Schlage.
they're a good lock. It's just they're not the locks that are compatible with the ones. So in order to put a program into those, a code, you have to manually do it. They're non-trackable. So you don't know who's in and out of the building. So that's why we're trying to do this in somewhere in the development of the public safety building, that specification that the locks would be the same as the 5 here and the 2 at center was left out.
So which 3 doors are we talking about here at the fire department?
there are 2 doors into the apparatus, one by the pickup truck out the south side of the building, or east side of the building, I guess, and one on the
West side.
regularly the apparatus on the other side by the parking lot. And then there's the one from the Emergency Operations Center. That's the same kind of lock. That's
You
the,
mean like on the inside?
on the inside, yeah,
into
from
the
from
garage.
where people go into the foyer, like for the police. If you turn right, that's the Emergency Operations Center. That door has that same lock
From the foyer.
from the foyer into that room to keep the public from being able to walk in.
So those are the 3 you're talking about change.
Yes.
So then what about the outside to go into the foyer? There's one there.
That's
right?
not that's not
not ours.
ours. That's the police
That's the
door.
police department.
Right, and then they have one on the other side.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah,
So
they have their
and
own.
those they
Separate.
monitor their own system.
They
You
do.
don't you don't control access.
And nor do I want to.
Those are keyed, aren't they? The door locks on, like to come in the back where you're at, where your
They have
vehicles,
key fobs.
those are those big, those are keyed. They're not electronic.
They got key
Yeah, the
fobs.
big ones for the, what leads into this.
Yeah.
Bell doors are just-
They're big.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
keys. No, but no, they're outside exterior doors are key fob
Right,
pads.
yeah, the outside one, but
So those 3.
We have control of those.
Separately.
We program their.
Yeah, they have their own.
Keep track of everybody comes and goes.
Yeah.
So those 5 blocks come off, then
Yep.
we chuck them, or can they be used?
No,
for
no,
anything,
no.
Or
No, the fight we would
Oh, the 3 that are at the fire
old ones.
station.
oh
Yeah.
those,
we'll hang on to those.
We're talking about hanging on to them. Just
They're not bad locks. They're not right for the situation they're put into.
like Mike Rowe might need one at the
Right,
pool.
Dell, transfer,
Well, that's-
transportation.
Yeah.
Tran-
Yeah.
some place where you don't have
transfer
a
station might
lot of
need it.
traffic, where they'd be fine. Or a
So-
lot of,
that bathroom you're supposed to study.
Yeah, yeah, that one.
That's right.
Uh,
We're getting there.
Universally identifiable every time you go.
We're getting there.
So,
Baby steps, baby steps.
so the cost of those
Haven't had one in
locks
30 years. What's another
is
2?
it's about, it's 94.77.99.
okay.
The,
Is that a motion?
yes,
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
the installation will be provided by an expert locksmith. Bill's father-in-law.
Oh,
does that, so
okay.
he's going to, and whatever, I don't know what he'll charge us to do that, but there will be some charge. I wouldn't expect him to do that for nothing.
He's the one that installed all the locks here to start with.
Yes, he's done all of
So
these.
this is Royal Group. Are they preferred vendors?
They are.
Yes,
Okay.
and
They know I've talked to Agnes. She knows she's providing hardware. She said, I will hand you the boxes, and we're like, perfect. So
Okay.
yeah, no, we're all in alignment.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Discussion or anything else we should know before we vote? Righty. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 4-0. All right, we just
Okay, now-
spent a bunch of money.
Money that we budgeted.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is
it was.
included and it's underneath the, yes.
It is, it's
I
true.
think that'll
All, yeah,
come-
all of the above to come from the
and that's all
maintenance
coming out
budget
of the
line. Okay.
municipal.
Oh, there's a
building.
backside, more
There's a
opportunity to
little more,
spend?
There's a-
but I don't think.
Yep.
Oh, a little bit, but it's okay.
All right.
Good thing.
Yeah, and then there's each lock there's a maintenance fee or a user fee per month. And the total is $432
A year.
a year for locks, and that would be taken out of each building's building maintenance to cover those costs. So the devices that allow us to monitor the locks and upgrade them, each building will have to have one.
Okay,
And the charge is $3 per lock. So
yeah, this might be one of those little things that we'll want to keep in one place in the general budget, rather than split it among because somebody could forget.
We
But
could-
just a
We can
thought, I
add
mean,
it to software.
we could do it through
Yeah.
the software, the building maintenance for here, and just, because probably will be billed once.
yes,
Almost
It'll all be
certainly.
one
Yeah.
bill, so that could just stay within this building's,
yeah, I think that
Yeah,
would
that's
make
fine.
more sense.
We can, I
maintenance,
can,
and that'll be, that way, because yeah. But it's the added security for the buildings,
Mhm.
the monitoring who's in and out, that's all good stuff.
Righty.
come in handy a few times.
Yeah.
And then.
Until you open the door when the safe left.
So the back of this bill, if you want to explain
sure.
there is a 911 number for
Oh, right.
McKinley Station, and it's $62. We have somewhere,
You get your example on my desk there.
this is the example that, so it'll be a vertical sign, 272, 4x18, something like that, or 6x18
18 inches tall, 4 inches wide.
wide with the numbers.
So those are three separate signs and they go in three separate.
There's
No, there's
examples
one
of
sign with three
number.
different
Color
colors.
All
examples.
right.
So I think we're going black on white,
Black.
Yeah.
black on white. The
Yeah,
recommend.
well, we got quite a few colors going on up at the buildings.
Might as well slap another one on there.
So black, the red numbers on a red building won't stand
They
out as
won't-
good.
yeah, okay.
I don't care so the black on a white
All right.
background. The recommendation would be that we have Awesome Graphics make this for us for the $62 and ask, VMS to install it on their building, or,
At no charge.
well, whatever it is, because I don't want the
It's their
town going
building.
up and making holes in that building.
Okay, so that's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Kurt made the motion this time.
It
Okay,
is.
all right, very good. Any
did.
discussion? $62 for our E911 number. All in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Okay. I think-
Aye, yes.
And
Motion
the
carries forward.
format correctly corresponds to our ordinance.
Right. The ordinance
Or
specifies
size,
how the signs
color,
have to be and what they're
yes.
supposed to be. So we followed that.
Highway that's coming from.
Yeah, where's it?
That's from
62
maintenance.
bucks? Who's, no.
Talk about it.
Building maintenance,
Yeah.
we'll take it out of
Yeah.
the fire department's building
Sounds great
maintenance,
Public safety building. business.
public safety building maintenance, whatever. Yeah.
Next thing is we have probably about 30 or so old metal chairs downstairs. We purchased the new plastic ones, which have been replaced on the carrier, so the metal ones are now available. We talked about
okay.
what we wanted to do with them. We can, they're there,
So
they're
the folding chairs,
folding chairs.
not the ugly things that we got for free, which somebody
Correct.
dumped
Though
on
we've
us.
only got about 5 or 6 of those left. The rest, they've all kind of wandered, they've all been,
Good.
they've been given away slowly but surely.
All right.
But these are metal folding chairs,
Okay.
no cushions. They're not broken, they're just
Uncomfortable.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So we talked about what to do with them, and they said wait till after the election and we can advertise them.
Or put a
Yeah.
sign
Whatever.
down there and
Yeah,
say
we
free.
talked about
can-
putting
Nobody
some,
goes in. Oh, you could do it
Putting
for
some
the
out there.
election.
put some out there with a free sign on it.
Yeah.
We can put we can, if we can advertise it whenever you like.
And we've got the open house that we'll need to do at the new public safety building. We could have free chairs.
There are.
given away.
Chairs
There you go.
up.
Speaking of which, didn't we over order something by
We
accident?
did.
Did we
So
resolve all of that?
we some of those additional seating options have been transferred to the new building.
Okay.
So there's some up there now that we can
Okay.
actually use. So yes, so we have made the best of a bad situation.
Okay.
We started pulling out some of this stuff that we're not.
We
gonna do.
had talked about returning them, but it would have been a complicated process. Which
Okay.
Yeah, because the number they delivered didn't match the order.
well,
If I,
Oh, it
they
was
come 4 to a
weird.
box.
Yeah.
We ordered 100, so we got 25 boxes. But in order to return like 40, you have to select you had to select the quantity, but the box quantity didn't match it because it doesn't tell you how many they shipped. So it was going, and we had to bring them to wherever we want to ship them from. So that was a different problem
Well,
altogether. So
you've now got a multi-purpose room,
we have,
so
we
need
will,
some chairs there.
we got them taken care of.
All right.
And we've been talking to Nemrick about their software. They are we are built into the budget for this coming year is the cost of replacing the server downstairs. It's time to do that. One of the bigger things that we put on it is Nemrick. They have been encouraging towns to switch to their cloud platform, which allows, it's essentially the same modules, but it's all web-based instead of being server-based. Once upon a time, when Nemrick was first put here, back with that was a Joe and Larry Gold endeavor.
Mhm.
They set it up differently than Nemrick would have encouraged them to, which has perpetually caused problems. This would eliminate that as a problem. It would also allow remote access much more easily. Excuse me. There is a one-time charge to migrate our data, and then there's a per month per user cost.
Which can go up and up and up. I know that this is the
Yep.
trend. I know everything is going, and I just got closed out of my favorite QuickBooks program because I was told I needed to move to a subscription service, which
Yeah, they
I'm
do.
not going to do.
Yeah.
So,
But you guys say this will actually save money versus what they're doing now.
So there's a couple things there's some ongoing support we end up calling Nemrick for because we end up inevitably with some issues. There are some support fees that come from that. This would make those essentially go away because we wouldn't have the problems because we wouldn't have it be on a server anymore. The other thing we can do is actually we don't need to spend as much on a new piece of hardware for the building because we don't have to build it for the capability of storing and running Nemrick on it as well. So
An annual fee now for the server-based program, or how does that work? You just buy it
there are fees for Nemrick and it's built into the budget. And I think the budget right now is like 14,000 and we do pay a fee, but this would replace that. So,
we're replacing
I don't-
14,000 with 1,400.
I don't know I don't see any bills from Nemrick at all. So I don't know what that comes from,
That's a Kari question.
but this
Yeah.
is,
You know,
One of the things it does do, and it's in these notes, is that it gets those records offsite,
Yeah, I
Which
know.
is
which is
something
one of the
that
things that
Andrew
we've
is-
been encouraged to do.
Yes.
Yes.
so
Yeah.
Andrew
Yeah.
he's traditionally talked about a disaster recovery plan, which is a
Yeah.
bigger thing to take on, but I've actually got someone I talked to today that's we're gonna have a preliminary conversation about what that all looks like, and they're gonna help us with some stuff. So, but this would be part of that, because if there's ever a catastrophic, anything that happens in this building, this is arguably, besides the town records themselves, this is the most important piece of software that we operate. So everything else is backed up. This is backed up, but it's only accessible in the building. So,
Backup,
there,
the backup's offsite though.
no,
Really?
Yeah, no, that's.
there
You
is
don't take the floppy disks home with you?
negative.
They
A
five
backup
quarter or 3.5.
tapes. They're 2 terabyte discs. They're a little bigger. We take it out of the drive, put it in the vault. We switch it, tape. We have 5 tapes, one for every day, and we just rotate them. So there is a tape in the vault right now. So if there was a catastrophic event in the building, we would lose what we did today.
Right, yeah.
So that's, I've looked at, Nemrick does do a backup, but we've never tested it. I mean, I'm sure it works, but we never tested theirs, but we've looked at options for doing our backups offsite, and the cost, because of the amount of data that we have, the time it takes to back up that amount of data requires a certain level. We need a bigger internet connection to another site, which at this point would be the public safety building. But in order to get it would cost us like $1,000 a month, and it just doesn't make sense to
This
do
is
that.
continuously backed up to the cloud.
Yes, it's not stored here.
But then your IT people will tell you, even if you're on a cloud-based system, they still want you to have a backup because
yes.
you're ransomware or whatever.
That would be a discussion to have with Nemrick. So this is something that we've looked at. We don't need to make a decision right now. But it is a good plan. It is the way things are going, and it's the way we're gonna want to get there. But we can do more research and get some of that information.
I mean, Matt's raised some questions
Yep.
about the backup to the.
Yep.
Yeah, and the 14,000 versus.
Yeah, so we'll
14,400.
get some more clarity on
That's
what
interesting.
where that
Yes,
actually comes from and what would actually change. So, but it would help with some of the ways things are interacting here, because we wouldn't end up with some of the problems that we're.
Is our server upgrade scheduled at this point, or are you in the process of figuring out?
We
what
have not
exactly is going in?
purchased it yet, because the money technically is in the next budget. It's not in the budget right now.
Oh, okay.
So we're planning for the person that was going to help me do it. We're planning for like a September, October-ish time frame. So the more we know going into it will affect how much we have to build this thing for.
Some of this stuff would be done prior to the change, so we need to have that in place.
If we decide we're going to go with Nemrick on the cloud, then we would not have to worry about putting it on the server to begin with, which would be the best case scenario.
Yeah, I think that's probably where this is.
Yeah.
headed.
Because we've made these motions and decisions, I think after Kari signed off, would you make sure that she is aware of these things that we've agreed to pay for from the building committee?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sure. Yeah. I had in the past sent her an email, and there's got to be a better way.
Sticky oil in the door.
Well, there's
Well,
that.
we're
is that.
spending, I mean, these are just normal
Well,
expenditures.
that's true.
We're not spending.
It's
We're
not
not,
capital.
we're not taking.
Yeah, we're not
You're
doing
right,
any,
okay.
and so when we discussed this the other day
Mhm.
about doing this, and our thoughts were that we could hold off on buying like the locks or some of this stuff and then do it out of the capital improvement, but that's just kind of taking this money, you have excess and
Got it, yeah.
so we might as well spend it, otherwise if we're gonna roll it and this is less complicated than keeping track of the
Yeah.
capital improvement
Yeah,
funds.
I agree.
Um,
Okay.
We thought this would be a good way to do it.
Is there anything else from Bill or for Bill?
And that's the end of our report.
That's the end of it. Well, that's good because we ran out of money almost, so. And we've gone through everything. Are there any other new items? Nope. Those are the committee meetings. We had the fire committee just before, and then we had building. There's the project list where almost we can take off maybe, we'll have a celebration. Public safety building will.
I think, well, it's gonna go pretty soon.
Yeah,
I think we're pretty much done.
We have no reason to go into executive session that I know of unless anybody else wants to. What I should say, because this will be our time before town meeting, reporting on Monday night. I've asked Sharon to do rec and suggested that one of you two do fire.
Whatever you want.
All right. If Kurt does highway, like he did, and you do fire, you can also do a quick update on the public safety building. How's that?
Yep.
Okay. I'll do general. You'll do police.
You're gonna be stuck moderating again?
You appointed me.
Oh, that's right, we did
Right,
appoint
we
him.
did.
Never mind.
Until-
He's it.
That was a dumb
someone else,
question.
like,
He's it.
It's in
He's a-
perpetuity at this point.
So write-in, opportunity for write-in votes for moderator. Okay. So we're all good on that, and we should keep it short. I mean, I think the school board was a little aggravated that we went on longer than they felt we
It-
should have.
I think just, we go through those budgets and you try
through
to
the
go as
budgets.
fast as you can, but
Yes,
there's always questions. And I think we're going to hear the same questions we heard
Well.
3, 4 weeks ago.
Had hers answered, so she made.
yeah.
Well, they aren't going to change.
She'll find more.
Oh, sure, yeah,
But that's
because the
all right.
report is now out, so she'll have a chance to
That's
go.
true.
No, she
She's
shows that
standing
she's
in.
read the stuff.
Yeah.
Standing in for everybody else who's not there, so
That's
I always
right.
appreciate it.
Yes, yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded, non-debatable. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries and we're done. Thank you.